Chapter 182. Lanjiang City's old street was an antique building developed in the West District. The most famous thing along the street was stinky tofu. If you walked down the street, you would see 9 stinky tofu stalls in front of every 10 shops. Back then, Yi Huanyan and Lu Shen spent a summer to discover the truth at the 26 stinky tofu stalls on Old Street. The old woman at the corner of West Street had the cleanest stinky tofu, but the old man at the entrance of the Pearl Shop on East Street had the most memorable stinky tofu. The old man next to the Tonghalu shop sold the most stinky tofu, while the old woman next to the sausage shop loved to sprinkle coriander on the stinky tofu. She wouldn't sell it even if they didn't want it. Except for the cleanest stinky tofu, which was personally tested by Lu Shen. The rest were summed up by Yi Huanyan herself. With his spoiled stomach, he couldn't eat the food on the street. He would definitely have diarrhea if he ate even a little bit. Only the old woman at the corner of West Street didn't have diarrhea. Now that he mentioned Old Street, the memories came back to her, full of youthful breath. Old Street, she murmured. She hadn't been there for about 2 years. She had almost forgotten that there was such a place. When they arrived, Su Nianhua bought a box of stinky tofu. He drizzled it with spicy sauce and sprinkled a handful of coriander on it. He took 2 bamboo sticks and handed them to Yi Huanyan. Try it and evaluate the overall standard of the stinky tofu on Old Street. Yi Huanyan didn't want to disappoint him, so she tasted a piece of the stinky tofu. It's so salty. Really? Let me try. Su Nianhua secretly took off his mask and tasted it. He then quickly put it back on. He could vaguely see the chewing behind the mask. He furrowed his brows and snorted. It's really salty. But with the mask on, he couldn't spit it out. He could only frown and force himself to swallow it. Yi Huanyan couldn't help but chuckle when she saw his mute appearance. A light breeze brushed past her cheeks, bringing a few strands of hair and brushing past her eyelashes. She narrowed her eyes slightly. They were like 2 crescent moons in the water, bright and flawless. Su Nianhua couldn't help but stare blankly for a while. Yi Huanyan smelled the stinky tofu and suddenly felt nauseous. She threw the box of stinky tofu into a nearby trash can in front of the boss and bent over to retch, attracting the attention of passers-by. Her eyes flickered as she shouted, "This restaurant is too disgusting. I'm going to puke. Seriously, let's go to another restaurant." A few girls who were about to pay the bill immediately retracted their hands, glanced at the boss, and ran away. The boss's face was ashen. He looked at the backs of Yi Huanyan and the others, as if he wanted to fry them like they were stinky tofu. Su Nianhua stood at the side and laughed out loud. Isn't it unkind to tease the boss like that? I'm really going to throw up. That smell is definitely not clean. Yi Huanyan waved her hand. Let's go to another restaurant. Su Nianhua only thought that she was joking. In addition, he had been eating well after that, so he didn't take it to heart. They walked to the end of the street. Not a single stall from 10 years ago could be found. However, there was no lack of delicious stinky tofu, but they still couldn't find the feeling of back then. The sky gradually darkened, and there were more people on the old street. The street lights gradually lit up, illuminating the dazzling lineup of stalls by the roadside. The joy that those colorful headbands could bring when they were young seemed to be gone forever. There was no lack of bars in the old street that were decorated in an outstanding style. They were all quiet bars. 10 years ago, Yi Huanyan and Su Nianhua, who were both underage, were blocked outside the door. They could only stand outside and listen to the resident singer sing. At the entrance of Time Bar, Yi Huanyan stopped and watched for a while. I want to drink some wine. Su Nianhua's eyes flickered. Let's go. I'll accompany you. The bar wasn't big. The walls were filled with beer bottles. On a red brick platform, there was a standing microphone. A male singer with long hair was gently playing the guitar. The plectrum swept across the strings, mixing with the crisp sound of the guitar. This male singer was singing a folk song. His voice was deep and hoarse, very heavy. My most beloved girl, accompany me to a faraway place. I will love you forever. You have to believe me. As soon as they sat down, the waiter came over with the wine list. Yi Huanyan glanced at Su Nianhua, her eyes asking for recommendations. 2 glasses of tequila sunrise and a dessert. Su Nianhua was familiar with ordering drinks. He was very familiar with bars. This was also related to his experience of singing in bars overseas for so many years. Yi Huanyan had never been to a bar before. Even when she traveled with her roommates to the edge of Arai, which was famous for its hunting of beauties, she had never stepped into those brightly lit bars. She liked the scenery and nature more than these artificial liveliness. 2 glasses of tequila sunrise were served. With a dark blue background, the upper part was a vague orange-yellow, and the last part was red. Just like the sunrise, the red half of the sun rose from the sea. The alcohol content isn't high, but 1 glass is enough. Su Nianhua reminded. Yi Huanyan nodded and took a sip with the straw. It was sweet, and the alcohol taste was very light. It was more like a beverage than alcohol. We've been here before. I said that my family didn't support me playing music. What if I came out of home one day without a single cent? You dragged me here. At that time, Yi Huanyan swore that the bar would earn them a few hundred yuan a night. Chapter 183. His voice was unique, but he was wearing a hat and his head was lowered in the shadows, so no one could see his face clearly. Yi Huanyan listened attentively for a while, and there was surprise in her eyes. This song was the same one from back then. What I like is the summer wind, the autumn rain, and you every day. What I want is the sunshine, the air, the 3 meals of the 4 seasons, and our love. Yi Huanyan only remembered the autumn rain. But because it was raining that day, the whole song was actually a cheerful and bright love song. Su Nianhua actually sang it word for word. This song was originally written by the singer in the bar, so it was surprising that he could still remember it. His voice was so recognizable that some people in the bar had already cast doubtful glances in the direction of the high platform, and some people stood up and tried to approach to size him up. Yi Huanyan was so engrossed in the song that she didn't notice anything strange. When the climax of the song came, someone in the crowd in the bar screamed, "Su Nianhua!" When this shout came out, the crowd was stunned at first, and then they all exclaimed. After being recognized, Su Nianhua simply didn't hide anymore. He only raised his finger to his lips and gently made a sh sound, indicating that they should not spread the news. This magical appeal actually made the people in the bar follow the beat. Especially after Su Nianhua took the lead to sing the chorus twice. He actually led the people in the bar to sing together. In the end, Su Nianhua held the microphone and looked at Yi Huanyan outside the crowd. His tone was young and gentle. "What I like is always you." His meaning was unclear, and the guests below who followed the beat didn't know who he was saying this to. They just thought that he was saying this to the fans below the stage, just like in a concert to them. The bar was full of people, and the cheers were unprecedentedly high. Yi Huanyan looked at Su Nianhua, who was surrounded by the crowd, and her heart was filled with emotions. It would be a lie to say that she wasn't moved. The people around her were all changing, both physically and mentally. However, Su Nianhua seemed to be the same Lu Shen from back then. He was always that handsome and bright young man, and even more cheerful and confident than before. After leaving the bar, they left the old street as fast as they could. It turned out that this was a wise choice, because 10 minutes after they left, the bar was taken over by fans who heard the news. The bar's turnover that night was probably more than the total turnover of the entire season. The bar owner should have given us a free bill. Your endorsement fee is too expensive. Sitting in the car, Yi Huanyan couldn't help but tease. Su Nianhua raised his eyebrows. "My endorsement fee is only worth 2 cocktails? Then it's free for life." After drinking that cup of wine, Yi Huanyan's face was flushed. Although she wasn't drunk, it was still wine after all. Drinking it made her blush a little. Su Nianhua saw Yi Huanyan's slightly red cheeks from the rearview mirror. His heart skipped a beat, and he felt his throat dry up. "Yin Yan, I'm serious about what I just said." Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. After all, he hadn't asked her face to face for a response when he had confessed to her through the crowd in the bar just now. She thought that she would just play dumb and forget about it. Su Nianhua should know what she meant, so he wouldn't bring it up again. She didn't expect that he would bring it up. There was silence in the car for a while. Only the sound of the wind outside the window could be heard. If you still want to stay here, I'll take you home to see my parents. My mother doesn't object to us anymore. She also mentioned before that she wants me to take you to see her. If you don't like it here, we can go abroad. As long as you want to go, I can go with you. Su Nianhua's tone was very sincere, and the car slowed down. Lu Shen, you know everything, don't you? After the annual meeting, even though they still kept in touch, Su Nianhua never mentioned what happened in the hotel in front of her again. He never mentioned Ling Han either. Perhaps it was to avoid awkwardness, but part of the reason must be that he already knew that she had an unusual relationship with Ling Han. She had thought about this before, but now that she heard him say this, she knew that he already knew everything. As for how he found out, she didn't know. There was no such thing as an airtight wall in this world. Su Nianhua hurriedly explained, "Don't misunderstand. After the annual meeting, I was afraid that reporters would leak the photos and videos, so I got someone to check it out. If anything happens, I'll have a strategy to deal with it in advance." "If something happens, what's your strategy?" Su Nianhua was slightly stunned. He took a deep breath. "If you're willing, just announce that we're getting married." There was a long silence in the car. After a while, Yi Huanyan sighed and said, "I don't want to." Su Nianhua's eyes gradually dimmed. He stepped on the accelerator and sped up. He didn't speak for a long time as he sped on the highway around the city. Yi Huanyan's expression didn't change. She knew that Su Nianhua was a person who knew what he was doing. He had always been like that. She took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. Her tone was gentle as she spoke. "When my mother married me into the Ling family, you had just left the country. At that time, I was actually quite depressed. On one hand, I felt that what Auntie Lu said made sense. I really couldn't help you in your future. On the other hand, I felt that I didn't go to the airport to send you off in the end, and I regretted it very much. After that, for a long time, I wondered if you would have stayed if I had gone to the airport to send you off that day. I would have." Su Nianhua's tone was firm. "I know." Yi Huanyan smiled. "After I understood that, I didn't feel so sad anymore. I don't know why, but it was as though I had let go of everything. At that time, I felt that there were a lot of things to consider when you love someone. After a few years, I felt that when you love someone, you don't have to think about anything. Love is love." She said all this to tell Su Nianhua that she didn't give up on him because of Ling Han, nor was it because of any other man. From the beginning to the end, their relationship had never been affected by other feelings. From the beginning to the end, it was both of their own choices. Su Nianhua pursed his lips. He couldn't find the words to say. When Yi Huanyan loved him, she had a lot of things to consider. Would her mother be looked down upon by the Lu family? Would they be able to get into the same university in the future, with such a huge difference in grades? But when she fell in love with Ling Han, she suddenly realized that there were some things to consider. But she had already fallen in love with him. Yi Huanyan beat around the bush to give him a way out of this embarrassing situation. But the more she acted like this, the more upset he felt. After all these years, the only person he had ever loved was her. How could he bear to part with her? Especially when he found out that she didn't have a good time with Ling Han. "Just pretend that I didn't say anything." In the end, he held back the anger in his heart. "Yan Yan, I won't force you to do anything. I just hope that you can be happier when you're with me." When she heard that, Yi Huanyan smiled. "I'm pretty happy today." She didn't have many friends. After graduation, the only one who stayed in Lanjiang City was Ji Xiaoya. Now that she was so busy, she hadn't seen her in a long time. "I'm here." Outside the window, they were already at the entrance of the Jinjiang Park Villa area. Yi Huanyan's voice was tinged with a hint of strange emotion. Chapter 184. When Yi Huanyan got home, Ling Han hadn't returned yet. He was probably still in the hospital. Lingling asked if she wanted to eat something, but she just waved her hand weakly and went upstairs. The black MPV drove in from the entrance of the residential area, going in the opposite direction from the sapphire blue sedan. The two men's eyes met briefly in the air, secretly competing with each other. Only the parties involved knew the reason for this. When Ling Han got home, his face was a little gloomy. Yi Huanyan had already finished showering, and was sitting by the bed drinking milk. Seeing Ling Han standing at the foot of the bed, Yi Huanyan's face tensed up. Is she okay? Ling Ling was the one who brought the milk up. When she saw Ling Han, she left the room and closed the door. Her right calf is fractured, and one of her ribs is broken. If the lampstand was a few inches to the side and hit her face, her acting career would be over. It's just a lampstand, something that can be fixed with tens of thousands of yuan. Why did it become like this? Don't you think you owe me an explanation? Ling Han's tone was very cold, as if he was accusing Yi Huanyan of wrongdoing. Yi Huanyan's face turned cold. Her fingers holding the cup of milk were red, but she didn't put it down. I am responsible for this. It has nothing to do with anyone else. I will take responsibility. How are you going to take responsibility? Ling Han took a step closer, his face cold. Do you have money or face? Yi Huanyan was not afraid of anything. Ling Han was very annoyed by the way she dared to take responsibility, no matter how big the problem was. The bedroom was silent for a few seconds. Then Yi Huanyan gritted her teeth and spat out 4 words. It's none of your business. When the accident happened in the afternoon, he already decided that she was responsible. He deliberately embarrassed her in front of so many people, and didn't even give her the right to go to the hospital. Why was he still pretending now? As soon as she finished speaking, the warm cup of milk in her hand suddenly flipped over. Clang! It fell to the ground and broke into pieces. Milky white liquid splashed everywhere. Ling Han pinched Yi Huanyan's wrist, his face ashen. I don't need to care. Who do you want to care? Yi Huanyan gritted his teeth, but he couldn't help but groan in pain. After approaching her, Ling Han could faintly smell a trace of alcohol. His expression immediately changed, and he increased the strength of his hand. Yi Huanyan was in so much pain that her facial features were twisted together. Such a big thing happened in the afternoon. Why didn't you stay in the company and go drinking? Do you think it's as simple as paying for Sheng Anren's injury? Yi Huanyan, how capable do you think you are? Do you know the collapse of the lampstand? If you change to another artist, it's not surprising to sue you for intentional injury. It was not that Yi Huanyan didn't hear those discussions in the company. It was not a matter of a day or two that she didn't get along with Sheng Anren. The words of those people in the company were passed to her ears. So as soon as this happened today, rumors spread behind her back, saying that she deliberately hurt Sheng Anren, and 3 men became a tiger. She just thought these rumors were ridiculous. Which company didn't have some conspiracy theorists? But at this moment, Ling Han also said that to her? Did he think she deliberately hurt Sheng Anren? Suddenly there was a burst of fire in her chest. She struggled angrily, and her face was strangely pink. Let her sue. If she has the ability, sue. I don't believe that a lampstand that collapsed by itself can win the lawsuit. Why do I need you to give me face? He had already told Yi Huanyan that if it were another artist, it was for his sake that Sheng Anren would not pursue the matter. But Yi Huanyan didn't appreciate it. This was something she hadn't done. Why should she be led by the nose? And Ling Han came forward to let Sheng Anren do her a favor? Ling Han frowned when he saw her angry expression that he had never seen before. He was at a loss for what to do. The collapse of the lampstand is not a problem. Sheng Anren will not really sue Yi Huanyan for this matter. It's just that it's hard to explain to Sheng Anren's fans. What he wants Sheng Anren to do is to find a way to calm the fans' anger at the agency's poor care, and not to lead to Yi Huanyan. Yi Huanyan calmed down. He grabbed her wrist and raised the volume. Yi Huanyan stared at him with red eyes and murmured, I didn't do it. Even you don't believe me. Originally, he was full of anger and dissatisfaction, but under her fragile eyes, he was immediately defeated. This change in mood came too quickly and caught people off guard. How much did Su Nianhua take her out to drink? Why did she become like this now? She was angry and annoyed, but there was nothing she could do. Ling Han rubbed her into his arms and said softly, I don't believe you. I'll solve it. This hug was like a dream. Using the delayed drunkenness, he felt like he was in a dream. Tears burst out of the dam and flooded. After crying for a while, she fell asleep in a daze, as if someone had covered her with a quilt. It was so gentle and skillful. It was probably Ling Ling. Late at night, the bedside phone rang, and Ling Han moved slightly, which startled Yi Huanyan. However, she only turned over and mumbled a few words before hugging his arm and continuing to sleep. Ling Han's brows relaxed, and he looked up at the flashing phone beside the bed. It was a call from Sheng Anren. He hesitated for a few seconds before pressing the hang-up button. At this moment, Yi Huanyan was nestled in his arms like an obedient little beast, sleeping sweetly and peacefully. He could not bear to break this image, so he simply turned the phone on silent mode. He turned over and pulled her into his arms, smelling the unique fragrance of her body before falling asleep. It was a good night's sleep, a rare good night's sleep. The next morning at dawn, Ling Han's biological clock woke him up naturally. There were more than a dozen missed calls on his phone. Other than the first 3 from Sheng Anren, the rest were all from Xiao Mu. On the other end of the phone, Xiao Mu's voice was very solemn and nervous. "Director Ling, something happened." "What's wrong?" Ling Han only thought it was a work matter, so he did not take it seriously. He glanced at the gradually rising sun outside the curtains, got up, and walked to the bathroom in his room to wash up. Sheng Anren's studio released a complaint against Secretary Yi, and the internet is already in an uproar. The complaint accused Secretary Yi of intentional injury. "I called to ask, and Sheng Anren's agent is preparing to file a case in court this morning." "What's going on?" Ling Han's face darkened. Maybe it's because a new show is about to start, and the studio planned the hype. "After all, this matter is related to Secretary Yi, so I called you as soon as possible. You see, find someone to stop Sheng Anren's agent. Also find a way to suppress the news first. It was released last night. It's been so long. I'm afraid it can't be suppressed." Xiao Mu was a bit troubled. "Suppress as much as you can." Ling Han's tone was extremely cold. "I'll be at the company in 20 minutes. Contact all the people in charge of Sheng Anren's studio and the publicity team to the headquarters for a meeting." Chapter 185. Sheng Anren was such a big shot. Although she was an artist of the pleasure group, her studio was self-operated and had great autonomy. Whether it was publicity, packaging, endorsements, or TV series, they were not controlled by the pleasure group. However, this did not mean that they could do whatever they wanted, especially when they touched the boss's bottom line. When Ling Han arrived at the company with a gloomy face, the staff of Sheng Anren's studio had almost all arrived. The latest batch of morning newspapers had come out. As soon as Ling Han entered the company, he got it. The headline was on the front page. "Sheng Anren, the movie queen, offended the female supervisor of the pleasure group. She was seriously injured and has been hospitalized." With a bang, the newspaper fell on the big conference table. "What is this? Who can explain it to me?" Ling Han's voice resounded throughout the conference room. It was so cold that the 2 men who were about to yawn shut their mouths and lowered their heads, not daring to say a word. In the end, the main person in charge of the studio came out to speak. He was a slightly fat man, not tall, wearing a pair of black-rimmed glasses. He looked like a programmer and spoke in a nervous tone. "We just learned about it. Sister Sue didn't discuss it with us. When we called to ask, Sister Sue said it was a private matter and had nothing to do with publicity." As soon as he said this, the people around him echoed. Ling Han's eyes flashed with coldness. "A private matter will release an accusation statement on the internet?" The person in charge was nervous. Although the object of the accusation was Secretary Yi, the favorite of the boss, it should not make the boss so angry. Was it true that Sheng Anren had fallen out of favor, and the boss's secretary had taken the position as the recent rumors said? Was that why there was such a big show now? "President Ling, this really has nothing to do with us. Except for me, who just learned the news. The others in the studio still don't know what is going on. According to your request yesterday, we all blocked the news and didn't dare to tell the reporters outside that Imran was injured." After the person in charge finished these words, he was already in a cold sweat. When he couldn't figure out the boss's mind, he felt that everything he said was wrong. Fortunately, Xiao Mu hurried over and whispered something into Ling Han's ear. Ling Han's face darkened, and he left the conference room without another word, leaving behind a room full of people looking at each other in bewilderment. Xiao Mu was originally following Ling Han, but when she reached the door, she remembered that there was still a room full of people. She quickly turned around and waved her hand. Thank you for your hard work, everyone. The meeting is over, so you can leave first. I still have matters to attend to with Director Ling. Ling Han was heading for the hospital. Xiao Mu had just found out that this matter indeed had nothing to do with Sheng Anren's studio. It was completely Sheng Anren's personal action, and the people in the studio were all kept in the dark and completely unaware. Jinjiang Park Villa. Yi Huanyan rubbed his aching head and got up from the bed. He was uncomfortably thirsty. Someone had placed a glass of water beside the bed. She picked it up and gulped down more than half of it. She lay on the bed in a daze for a while. She seemed to be in a trance about what had happened last night. She vaguely remembered that she had an argument with Ling Han, and then fell asleep. How could she sleep like that? She didn't want to get up. She knew that her alcohol tolerance wasn't very good, but she only drank a glass of cocktail. She didn't expect the after-effects to be so strong. She changed her clothes and went to work. As soon as she arrived at the entrance of the company, she saw a group of reporters surrounding the front desk with cameras in their hands. Some were sitting on the sofa, some were standing, and some were negotiating something with the front desk. She frowned and swiped her card to enter the door, while asking a woman dressed as a secretary passing by, "What's going on? Why are there so many reporters at the company today?" When the woman saw that it was Yi Huanyan, she revealed a surprised expression and hurriedly pulled Yi Huanyan into the elevator. "Secretary Yi, why are you here today? Why can't I come?" Yi Huanyan was a bit confused. The female secretary frowned. "Didn't you watch the news? These reporters are all looking for you." Under the reminder of the female secretary, Yi Huanyan checked today's headlines. After seeing such an obvious title as Pleasure's high-level female director surnamed Yi, it was difficult not to contact her. No wonder today at work, she met the company's colleagues looking at her a little strange. Pleasure's people naturally knew that this was Yi Huanyan, but the reporters outside didn't know. Now even if Yi Huanyan walked in front of them, they might not know that this was the female director mentioned in the newspaper. After reading the content of the news, Yi Huanyan just sneered, but didn't care much on the surface. She just thanked the female secretary who reminded her. The female secretary was a little surprised and kindly reminded her, "Secretary Yi, I think this is a big deal. Why don't you take a vacation first?" Yi Huanyan smiled. "It says in this report that I deliberately hurt Sheng Anren. They dare to write such nonsense. Either the newspaper is deliberately mystifying, or Sheng Anren's studio is hyping. I heard that their new play is being promoted." The female secretary suddenly realized and nodded again and again. "No wonder. I was wondering what was wrong with Sheng Anren. She is the future boss's wife of the company. Why do you have to make things difficult for the people in your own company? And it sounds too unreliable to deliberately hurt her." Yi Huanyan thought the same as Ling Han. At first, she thought it was just a gimmick of Sheng Anren's studio. She didn't expect that Sheng Anren really wanted to frame her. The group of reporters had been downstairs and refused to leave. As long as they went upstairs, they had to swipe their cards. There were 2 gates, and there was an independent gate on each floor. Even if they disguised as cleaning aunties, they couldn't get in. In the end, it seriously affected the normal work of Pleasure. After Yi Huanyan received the call downstairs, she was a little angry. There should be a limit to the hype. She stepped on the 12-centimeter high heels and went straight to the first floor. Xiaodong couldn't stop her. The front desk was still arguing. Several reporters used all kinds of tricks to see Yi Huanyan for an interview. "If you stay here any longer, we will call the security." The girl at the front desk was on the verge of collapse. She couldn't squeeze out a good face. "Call security now." A stern and clear voice suddenly sounded, with an unquestionable aura. Everyone looked at the source of the voice in unison. "Yi," the girl at the front desk shouted in surprise, but then covered her mouth and frowned at the reporters around her. "It's been a long time, and you still haven't called the security. It has seriously affected our work. Just now, the courier was blocked at the door when he came to receive the package. Do you know?" Yi Huanyan's voice was decisive and tough. When the girl at the front desk heard that someone was backing her up, she didn't have to bear the charge of perfunctory guests. She immediately picked up the phone and contacted the security room. Master Wang, let the people in the security room gather. We have more than a dozen reporters here. Please help to send them out. When they heard that she was really calling the security, the reporters' faces suddenly changed, and they were anxious. We won't go. We just want to talk to Director Yi and do a simple interview. We want the truth. Chapter 186. The receptionist had finished her call and was looking at Yi Huanyan nervously. The security guard will be here in 5 minutes. You can go upstairs to work first. Leave this to us. The receptionist was smart. She knew that she could not call out Yi Huanyan's name. She was lucky that the reporters did not hear her. Otherwise, she would be in big trouble. Miss, we are looking for Supervisor Yi. Please arrange for us to leave as soon as we see Supervisor Yi. The reporters were still unwilling to let her go. Yi Huanyan looked at the dozens of reporters in front of her. They were looking at the cameras and holding the microphones of different media companies. She realized that it would be difficult to get rid of them, not to mention whether she could get them out of here unscathed. If she broke their cameras, they would write something to smear Pleasure Company. It was not a joke. The board of directors was not convinced by Ling Han. It would be troublesome if the stock market fluctuated because of the news. You want to see Supervisor Yi? You will leave as soon as you see her? She asked. The leading female reporter nodded. Yes, we will leave as soon as we see her. Then you can leave. I am her. Yi Huanyan looked calm and cold. Her aura was not inferior to any of Pleasure Company's senior management. The leading female reporter was stunned at first and asked in a puzzled tone. You, Secretary Yi. Xiao Dong had just got off the elevator and chased after Yi Huanyan from afar. She confirmed Yi Huanyan's identity. Yi Huanyan stared at the female reporter in front of her without changing her expression. You have seen her. You can leave now. Don't make it too ugly. Manager Ling has a good relationship with the bosses of all the major news companies. After saying this, she turned and was about to leave. You mean you admit that you have an affair with Ling Han? The female reporter's voice was a little sharp. After it rang out in the hall, Yi Huanyan was surrounded by reporters who had reacted in an instant. Miss Yi, please answer Sheng Anren's accusation. Is it true that you deliberately hurt someone? I heard that you've always had a bad relationship with Sheng Anren. You've repeatedly stopped her from seeing Ling Han. Is there any other unspeakable relationship between you and Ling Han, besides the relationship between superior and subordinate? What do you think of the rumors about you being a mistress? In an instant, Yi Huanyan was surrounded by microphones. Her expression stiffened, and her mind was in chaos. The female reporter who was facing her lifted her chin slightly and looked at her with contempt. Miss Yi, you deliberately hurt Sheng Anren because you admire Ling Han and are jealous of Sheng Anren, right? Yi Huanyan's expression darkened. I didn't hurt her on purpose. I'm responsible for this, but it's only because I'm the person in charge of this project. According to my understanding, after this project is completed, the person in charge will be directly transferred to be the general manager of Pleasure Advertising Company. As a secretary, your qualifications are far from enough. Did you accept this project because of your relationship with Ling Han? The female reporter was aggressive, and her questions were all about the key links. Sorry, this is my company's confidential information. I can't tell you casually. Yi Huanyan frowned and was about to squeeze through the crowd. At this time, the security guard had already arrived. With the fastest speed, he even dragged and pulled away the reporters surrounding Yi Huanyan. Xiao Dong protected Yi Huanyan and frowned. Sister Yi, let's go. Is it a company secret, or do you have a guilty conscience? The one who asked the loudest question was still the female reporter. Yi Huanyan was pulled by Xiao Dong to take 2 steps. When she heard this, she was angry. You're making irresponsible remarks here without any evidence. How dare you start rumors and make trouble in front of me? The project allocation is our company's confidential information. I can't comment, but I can tell you that Sheng Anren accused me of deliberately hurting people. If I really had any problem, I wouldn't be standing here unscathed. If you want to interview me, you should go to the detention center. The female reporter was refuted by her, and her beautiful face turned pale. She frowned. At this time, behind the crowd of reporters, 3 men in police uniforms walked into the hall. The leader looked over the crowd and fixed his eyes on Yi Huanyan, who looked aggressive at the moment. You are Yi Huanyan? The reporters turned around and saw 3 people in blue police uniforms walking in. The hall was silent for a moment. Yi Huanyan, right? This is a temporary detention warrant. Please come with us. Someone accused you of deliberately hurting people. We need you to cooperate with the investigation. The leader's voice was not loud, but it was very calm. It exploded a wave of thunder in the quiet hall. The female reporter was the first to react. She patted the camera beside her and pointed the camera in her direction. Now it's the first-hand news. The case of the movie queen Sheng Anren, accusing the female director of pleasure of deliberately hurting people, may have been filed. Now it's 10:45 in the morning. Yi is negotiating with the police and will be taken to the West City Public Security Bureau for investigation. The camera was aimed at Yi Huanyan. The leader of the 3 policemen raised his hand to block the camera and frowned. Don't shoot. It's not confirmed yet. Just cooperate with the investigation. The female reporter didn't care. She still exaggerated her report. The suspect Yi has been taken away by the police. I don't know what method pleasure will use to quell the anger of many fans of the movie Queen Sheng Anren. Under the watchful eyes of the public, Yi Huanyan was taken away by the police, which has caused a great uproar on the internet. Some people dug up Yi Huanyan's story and found that she was very similar to the popular heroine of Su Nianhua's concert. There were many people who poured dirty water on her. Among them, there was a section of this woman surnamed Yi as a bus. She is crazy about getting to the top. Not only did she seduce the boss, but she also showed kindness to Su Nianhua. Various stories based on such remarks emerged endlessly, so this matter inevitably involved Su Nianhua. Fortunately, Su Nianhua came out to make a statement at the first time and personally appeased his fans. Don't believe the rumors. Stay calm. Don't make a fuss. Don't tear. Most of the fans were more obedient and didn't continue to attack randomly on the internet. For the behavior of Sheng Anren's fans who forced them into the water, most people maintained a bystander attitude, and some people who really didn't like to see it posted 2 clarifications on the internet. This matter has nothing to do with my brother Nian Nian. The words of one anti-fan don't represent all the fans. Yi Huanyan had never thought that she would be in the police station because of being accused of deliberately hurting people in this life. The police station had detailed information. The dark and thin policeman didn't ask much. He went straight to the point and asked the process of the lampstand incident. Someone next to him took notes. You said that the lampstand was broken, so it needed someone to hold it. Why wasn't it repaired before? Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. Originally, she didn't know much about this matter. It was the prop team who was in charge of it. However, after the incident yesterday afternoon, the prop team deliberately came to her and explained to her. Only then did she know. I didn't plan to repair it. I planned to replace it directly. The lampstand was imported. It will take some time to transport it from abroad. Why are you holding it? The dark and thin policeman looked up and stared at her with an unkind face. Chapter 187. Yi Huanyan's expression did not change. The person holding the lampstand was called to be in charge of the light. I just happened to be free. So you've been holding the lampstand? Yes. Hearing this, the dark and thin policeman looked at her meaningfully. Is there a grudge between you and Sheng Anren? The atmosphere suddenly changed. Yi Huanyan frowned and said firmly, No. As far as I know, Sheng Anren is Ling Han's girlfriend. The dark and thin policeman stared at Yi Huanyan. He could clearly feel that her face stiffened when she said this. Is she your boss's girlfriend? Yi Huanyan was stunned for a few seconds. You should ask him. There was a glimmer of light in the eyes of the dark and thin policeman. He did not continue to ask this question, and changed the topic. What's the relationship between you and your boss, Ling Han? Brother and sister in name, Yi Huanyan answered truthfully. Indeed, judging from the household registration, she was now the daughter of the Ling family. She was brother and sister in name with Ling Han. What about in reality? The dark and thin policeman caught the loophole in her words. Yi Huanyan was stunned. She looked unhappy. Obviously, she was very resistant to this question. I didn't hurt Sheng Amran on purpose. Whether you believe it or not, you can't arrest her just because of her one-sided words, right? The dark and thin policeman sneered. I've seen a lot of stubborn people. If I don't show you some evidence, you'll really be a rogue. Our police station is useless. After saying this, he turned on the computer beside him and clicked on a video page. The video was the scene in the studio that day. At the beginning, Yi Huanyan walked to the lampstand and held it. The cameraman was not in the video, but his voice was always there. Smile. Halfway through the video, Yi Huanyan suddenly put her hand into her coat pocket. The dark and thin policeman pressed the pause button and then looked up at Yi Huanyan. What are you doing at this time? Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. She had forgotten to pick up the phone. You're answering the phone. You know that there's something wrong with the lampstand, but you still dare to let go of the lampstand to answer the phone. Shouldn't I suspect that you have other motives? Yi Huanyan frowned. You're talking to yourself. The lampstand didn't move at all. It didn't look like it would collapse at all. My phone rang. I thought it was a friend looking for me, so I picked it up. But just as you were answering the phone, the lampstand fell. After saying this, the dark-skinned police officer clicked on the touch screen, and the video continued to play. The moment Yi Huanyan picked up the phone, the entire lampstand fell to the ground at a speed visible to the naked eye. The lampstand had already broken away from Yi Huanyan's hand. At this time, the dark-skinned police officer paused the video again and stared coldly at Yi Huanyan. Do you see it clearly? The direction of the lampstand's inclination is the direction of the lighting master. If it falls at this angle, Sheng Amran will at most hurt her ankle, not her whole calf. What do you mean? Yi Huanyan's face tightened. The video continued to play. In the next second, Yi Huanyan suddenly grabbed the lampstand. The weight of the lampstand and the inertia were not something Yi Huanyan could stop. But with her support, the direction of the whole lampstand's inclination deviated by 2 inches, and it fell straight in the direction of Sheng Amran. The video ended. If Sheng Amran hadn't dodged quickly, it would have hit the back of her head directly from this position. The dark-skinned police officer stared at Yi Huanyan, trying to find a flaw in her face. Yi Huanyan was indeed a little flustered, but it was not the fluster of being exposed, but the fluster of anger. Aren't you going to help the lampstand fall? If I don't help it, won't I deliberately hurt people? And you think too highly of me. Am I a physicist? Do I know how to calculate the inclination angle and the possibility of being injured or killed? The tanned and thin policeman's face darkened. He seemed to feel that Yi Huanyan's attitude was very improper, and his voice suddenly turned cold. Yi Huanyan, based on this video and the fact that you have enough motive to commit the crime, you'd better confess. This way, you can be sentenced less and suffer less. Why should I admit to something I didn't do? Until now, Yi Huanyan still felt that this was a joke. The inexplicable video, the inexplicable arrest, and the inexplicable interrogation, and she, the so-called suspect, did nothing at all. The dark-skinned police officer snorted coldly. Since you don't admit it, you can stay here. When can I leave? Although Yi Huanyan had never studied the law, she was not blind to the law. Such little evidence could not prove that she deliberately hurt people. Even if she wanted to be detained to cooperate with the investigation, she could not be detained for more than 48 hours. Wait for someone to bail you out. Otherwise, you'll have to stay here for 48 hours. The dark-skinned police officer said coldly with a gloomy expression. After leaving the interrogation room, the dark-skinned police officer glanced at the officer, who was taking notes beside him. I asked you to investigate the employees of Pleasure and Yi Huanyan. Have you done it? The young policeman nodded respectfully. Yes, everyone says that she's very capable and kind. Boss, could this be a misunderstanding? Whether it's a misunderstanding or not is another matter. But since she's being accused of deliberately hurting people, we can't just ignore it. Did you find out the relationship between Yi Huanyan and Ling Han? We did some investigation, but they're all rumors. None of them are credible. The people of pleasure all said that they heard it from someone, but we couldn't find out who said it. Especially when we investigated a few people who are usually honest. They all said that Yi Huanyan has a strict work attitude. They said that there is nothing between her and the boss, and that there is definitely no affair. They made a promise. The dark-skinned police officer sneered. Everyone in pleasure doesn't know that they are brother and sister. They even made a promise. Ridiculous. Then boss, should we continue to investigate? Investigate? Doesn't Yi Huanyan have a best friend? You can start with her, and find out if there is an affair between her and Ling Han. If there is, this can be closer to the murder of love. Murder of love? Isn't it deliberately hurting people? How did it become murder? The young policeman looked nervous. The dark-skinned police officer slapped the young policeman's head and said angrily, "Nonsense. Sheng Anren is only injured now. That's intentional hurting. If the lamp frame hits Sheng Anren's head, wouldn't it be murder of love? When the time comes, this case will be waiting for us to work on." The young policeman rubbed his head and nodded repeatedly. But why did he feel that the boss's random reasoning was a little unreliable? In the hospital, Ling Han stood in front of Sheng Anren's bed with a cold expression on his face. Facing the chair that Sister Sue pulled over, he did not sit down. He stood at the end of the bed like a statue. Without waiting for Sheng Anren to show her signature smile, he coldly spat out a sentence. "Anren, use other methods to promote the new drama. Yi Huanyan's matter, withdraw the lawsuit. New drama promotion." Sheng Anren stopped smiling. "Do you think I'm using my own life safety to hype up?" Chapter 188. Anren, it's no good for you to sue Yi Huanyan. A female artist involved in a lawsuit will only delay her work. What kind of compensation do you need? You can talk to her in private. Ling Han's face is cold, and he looks very rational. Han, a secretary is worth you speaking for her personally? Her work ability is obvious to all. She is very important to the company. In this way, Sheng Anren must have believed it before. But since she knew the relationship between them, she didn't believe a word. Sheng Anren stared at him for a long time. Usually, she wouldn't dare to stare at him with such a look, but now she can. The more it came to this kind of time, the more clear she was in her heart that how much Ling Han was tolerant of her, how much he cared about that woman in his heart. Han, I just want to be fair. Haven't you ever thought that she really hurt me on purpose? Ling Han frowned but didn't speak. It's true that she's your secretary. Usually she doesn't treat me well, so I tolerate it for your sake. But this time, if I didn't dodge quickly, I would have lost my life. Why don't I settle it privately? I believe that justice has a long arm. If she really didn't do it on purpose, what's the use of suing her? Sheng Anren's eyes were shining. When he looked at Ling Han, he seemed sad. I'm tired. Let's talk about it later. I just want to have a rest today. Seeing her like this, Ling Han's face was a little gloomy. I'm afraid the withdrawal of the lawsuit has to wait for Sheng Anren's mood to stabilize. Take good care of her. When he left, he told Sheng Anren's agent. Sister Sue sent him to the door and sighed helplessly. President Ling, in fact, Anren is not such an unforgiving person. If Secretary Yi is willing to apologize and promise not to go against her in the future, I think Anren will not pursue it anymore. Ling Han furrowed his brows. In the detention house, Ji Xiaoya signed and stood at the door, waiting for Yi Huanyan to come out. A black commercial car slowly stopped at the entrance, and a familiar figure got out of the car. With a height of 1.87 meters, he was particularly eye-catching even in the night. Ji Xiaoya was stunned at first, then frowned. Ling Han. At this time, Yi Huanyan had just come out. When she heard Ji Xiaoya's voice, she was stunned. She slowly raised her head and followed her gaze. She saw Ling Han walking in with a cold look in his eyes. Xiaoyu, let's go. I want to stay at your place for the next 2 days. She tugged on Ji Xiaoya's arm. Her words were obviously directed at Ling Han. I have something to tell you. Ling Han's expression darkened. I didn't. Yi Huanyan's tone was very cold. She tilted her shoulder 2 inches to avoid his outstretched hand. Her expression was very resistant. I already have a way to solve this matter. You have to listen to me. Ling Han's voice made Ji Xiaoya stop in her tracks and pull Yi Huanyan. Yin Yin, wait a minute. She had been paying attention to the news for the past 2 days. She knew how serious the content of the report was. If Sheng Amren refused to let her go, not to mention the compensation, she was afraid that she would have to go to jail according to the degree of injury. Yi Huanyan had no power or influence. She couldn't compare with Sheng Amren, a socialite with a wide range of connections. If she used some more tricks, it would really be beyond redemption. Do you really have a way? Ji Xiaoya gritted her teeth and looked up at Ling Han. Ling Han didn't need to lie to them. She just asked. After seeing Ling Han nod, she pulled Yi Huanyan in front of him and instructed. Talk to him. I can see that he really cares about you. Yi Huanyan still resisted. Xiao Yu. I have no problem with you staying with me as long as you want, but I'm afraid the people in the police station won't let me. I can't help you too much in this matter. Yin Yin, listen to me. You can only rely on him now. People should bow their heads when they should. Besides, Ling Han is not someone else. Isn't he the man you want to marry? Ji Xiaoya patted Yi Huanyan's hand. She hesitated for a while and looked up at Ling Han. Then I'll leave her to you. Yi Huanyan clenched her fingers. Although she didn't want to go with Ling Han, she knew that Ji Xiaoya was telling the truth. At the moment, she only hated that she had no power and couldn't even save herself. Jinjianjiwen. On the way back, Yi Huanyan didn't say a word. She didn't know what to say. She also didn't know what Ling Han would say to her, or what he planned to do to solve this matter. Ling prepared some simple dishes early in the morning. After she set the table, she went back to her room and left the dining room to the two of them. What do you want to do? Yi Huanyan lowered her head and ate 2 mouthfuls. She couldn't help but look up and ask. Ling Han frowned. Eat first. The meal was eaten in an awkward manner. She had been in the detention center for a whole day. To be honest, the food in the detention center didn't taste good. Although she wasn't in a good mood, she couldn't stop eating after 2 mouthfuls. In the end, Yi Huanyan finished the bowl of rice in front of her, without leaving a single grain of rice behind. She also drank more than half of the pork rib soup. She put down her chopsticks and subconsciously touched her belly. It was already bulging, and the dizziness she felt in the detention center had completely disappeared. Sure enough, she was hungry. Seeing that she was full, Ling Han also put down his chopsticks and wiped his mouth slowly. In fact, he didn't eat much. He basically watched Yi Huanyan eat. Can you say it now? Yi Huanyan took a deep breath and looked up at him. After the court files a case, there is a process of settlement out of court. No matter what the truth is, once it goes to court, it won't be good for you, so I think it should be settled out of court. Looking at this, Yi Huanyan thought that he had reached a consensus with Sheng Amren. Although she was sullen, it didn't make her do anything. It was nothing more than taking a bad name in front of Sheng Amren's fans. She didn't care. I have no objection, she said lightly. After this is over, you go back to the old house and live with Grandma for a few days. Even if Sheng Amren agreed to withdraw the lawsuit, this matter would definitely ferment on the internet for a while. During this time, there was no way to guarantee that there wouldn't be extreme fans like Sun Yanhua's fans who came out to take revenge on Yi Huanyan. So it was natural for her to temporarily avoid the limelight. Okay, she nodded. Tomorrow afternoon, go to the hospital with me and apologize to Amren. This matter will be over. Hearing this, Yi Huanyan's subconscious nod suddenly stopped. She slowly looked up, her eyes full of surprise. Her voice was uncertain as she asked, "What did you just say?" Seeing her like this, Ling Han felt a little uncomfortable, but he maintained a calm expression and said in a deep voice, "As long as you apologize, this matter will be over. Don't you understand? Do you want to go to jail?" Between apologizing and going to jail, any smart person would know which to choose. Besides, the collapse of the light frame was indeed Yi Huanyan's fault. You want me to apologize? Admit that I deliberately hurt people? Yi Huanyan's voice was faintly trembling. The surprise in her eyes had turned into disappointment, and it was getting stronger. Chapter 189. Looking at that disappointed face, Ling Han's eyes narrowed. You want me to apologize to her for something I didn't do? Yi Huanyan's voice turned cold. I can't do it. Let her sue me. Hearing this, Ling Han made up his mind. You have to go even if you don't want to. Yi Huanyan, you'd better figure out that this matter is not only about your reputation, but also about pleasure's reputation. Do you want me to show you the recent stock market fluctuation of pleasure? The negative news has been all over the city. Yi Huanyan's face immediately drained of color. Although she was not a real senior executive of pleasure, she was Ling Han's secretary. She had a great reputation in the headquarters of Pleasure Group. Sheng Amren's fans were adding fuel to the fire behind the scenes, and Pleasure's competitors were secretly manipulating things. This matter could be big or small. Seeing that she was silent, he knew that she was thinking. There was a faint hope. Ling Han frowned. Think about it. That night, Ling Han had more insomnia than ever before. He didn't feel sleepy at all. He couldn't even close his eyes. As soon as he closed his eyes, he seemed to see those eyes filled with disappointment. She stared at him in disbelief. He knew Yi Huanyan's personality. If this matter was only related to her, then her self-esteem was destined to be ranked first. No one could persuade her if she decided on something. In a hurry, she might really fight to the death with Sheng Anren. However, it was different when it came to pleasure. Pleasure was Ling Dongming's painstaking effort, and it was also the joint effort of Jiang Milan and Ling Dongming. She cared about it very much. Once you have a thorough understanding of a person, you will know where her weakness is. When he first found out about it, he didn't feel anything when he stabbed her once or twice. After a long time, he realized that when he stabbed her soft spot, it was as if someone had stabbed him in the heart. Blood flowed on her body, but the pain in his heart was 1,000 times worse. At midnight, Ling Han sat by the bed and finished smoking a cigarette. He got up and pushed open the revolving door in the middle of the master bedroom. Yi Huanyan was already asleep. She was lying on her side with the blanket covering her waist. Her breathing was even. Ling Han took a deep breath and quietly walked over to her. He lifted the blanket onto her shoulders and sat beside her for a while. He stared at her side profile in a daze. Suddenly, she remembered what Ling Dongyu had asked her in the old mansion. Have you ever thought about what the person you're spending your life with is like? When you think, the person who appears in your mind is the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. After he left, Yi Huanyan slowly opened her eyes. There was the smell of his tobacco in the air. She had gotten used to it over the past year. As long as he approached, she could quickly detect him. His smell and figure were all so familiar. The next morning, Yi Huanyan dressed up and went downstairs for breakfast. Ling Han was also there. Everything was normal, as if Sheng Imran's injury had never happened. Yi Huanyan even ate an extra bowl of porridge than usual. She finished all the olives in front of her and even praised Lingling, saying that she made a good pickle. Ling Han put down his chopsticks and stood up. I'm going to the company. You can rest at home today. He did not mention the apology. Yi Huanyan was still holding the bowl. She only asked after he walked past her shoulder. What time are you going to the hospital in the afternoon? His hands, which were adjusting the buttons of his suit, paused. After a while, his cold voice sounded in the dining room. 2 o'clock. Xiaomu will pick you up. Are you going? She asked. After you apologize, go back to the old mansion and have dinner with Grandma. Okay. After receiving an affirmative answer, Yi Huanyan's face finally bloomed with a smile. Although it was a bit bitter, it did come from her heart. Sometimes, people had to give up some things in order to be benevolent. On the way from home to the company, Ling Han was more or less upset. No one knew better than him how stubborn Yi Huanyan was. 10 years ago, when Yi Huanyan had just arrived at the old mansion, the old lady had thrown a Ming Dynasty snuff bottle. The servant said that she saw Yi Huanyan take it. At that time, Jiang Milan had just arrived at the Ling family and was afraid that she would be criticized behind her back if she made a mistake. After hearing this, Perhaps because she saw the old lady's bad expression, she angrily whipped Yi Huanyan with a branch she picked up in the yard. She kept saying, "Are you going to admit it or not? You're not going to apologize, and you're still so stubborn." Yi Huanyan knelt in the yard and gritted her teeth as Jiang Milan whipped her a dozen times. She refused to apologize and admit it no matter what. In the end, it was Ling Dongming who rushed over and pulled the two apart. As for that snuff bottle, Aunt Zhang had misplaced it and put it in another box. It was only after they found it that the truth was revealed. At that time, he did not have any feelings for Yi Huanyan. She was just a little sister in name that came along with him. Even when Jiang Milan whipped her with a branch, he stood at the entrance of the yard and watched her grit her teeth and bear it with a cold gaze. The memories assaulted him, making him feel a bit tired for some reason. Xiaomu asked him what was wrong. He waved his hand and pretended to be relaxed. In the afternoon, Xiaomu brought Yi Huanyan to the hospital. There were many fans of Sheng Anren near the hospital. Thankfully, no one recognized Yi Huanyan. They held signs and hugged flowers as they squatted nearby and walked around without much reaction. For safety's sake, after getting out of the car from the parking lot, Xiaomu still led Yi Huanyan through the back door of the hospital and directly to the VIP ward in the inpatient department. The ward with two bodyguards standing at the entrance was Sheng Anren's ward. "The company meeting hasn't ended yet. Director Ling will be here in a bit," Xiaomu explained in a low voice. Yi Huanyan did not seem to care too much and nodded to show that she understood. Then, she lowered her head and entered the ward. Sheng Anren was wearing the hospital's blue and white striped hospital gown. Her chestnut brown curly hair was loosely tied into a braid and draped over her shoulder. As a woman, one could vaguely see that she was wearing light makeup, but it was not obvious. At this moment, she was lying on the hospital bed with a bit of languid grace. After all, she was an artist and had to maintain her image even when she was sick in bed. It had to be said that Sheng Anren's professional integrity was truly admirable. Yi Huanyan stood still at the end of her bed. Their gazes met in the air, and the atmosphere suddenly froze. "What wind blew Secretary Yi here?" Sheng Anren's words carried a bit of provocation, and the way she slightly raised her chin was very disdainful. Yi Huanyan was not provoked by her and said seriously, "Miss Sheng is injured. As the person in charge of the endorsement, I take full responsibility for this accident. I should have come to visit earlier, but many things have happened in the past 2 days, so I was delayed. Miss Sheng has always been magnanimous, so you shouldn't mind, right?" Yi Huanyan, who had been in a high position for many years, was adept at using a bureaucratic tone. Sheng Anren laughed, and her eyes were thought-provoking. "Accident? So you're here to apologize to me on behalf of the company? There's no need for that. With my relationship with Ling Han, I won't have any complaints about the company even if one of my legs is broken." In the end, she just wanted her to admit her mistake in her own name and apologize to her. Yi Huanyan gritted her teeth, and her palms were painfully pinched by her nails. Chapter 190. "Miss Sheng, I'm here to apologize to you in my own name." Yi Huanyan made up his mind and bowed in the direction of Sheng Anren. This bending of her waist seemed to have broken her backbone. Her unwillingness made her eyes turn red. "Don't worry," Sheng Anren looked up at Yi Huanyan. "You can say that later." Yi Huanyan was stunned. Sheng Anren suddenly winked at his agent and said lightly, "Invite those friends in. They've been waiting for a long time." Not long after, the large ward was crowded with cameras. The reporters whispered and took photos crazily. Some of them couldn't help rushing to the bed, but they were stopped by the two strong bodyguards. Yi Huanyan's face was stiff. She didn't know where these reporters came from, or what was going on. She only heard Sheng Anren whisper, "Since you want to apologize, you have to do it in front of the reporters. It's also an explanation to my fans. Secretary Yi, I'm doing it for you." Yi Huanyan stared at Sheng Anren in a daze, and his mind was blank. Behind her, there were countless questions. "Miss Yi, are you here to apologize to Miss Sheng today? Do you admit that you deliberately hurt people?" What do you want to say about Miss Sheng's not holding you accountable for your fault? Sheng Anren winked at the agent, and the woman clapped her hands to make the reporters quiet down quickly. Well, all the reporters, please be quiet. After the apology, you can interview as you like. Now please leave some time for Secretary Yi. The scene gradually quieted down. Yi Huanyan frowned and stared at Sheng Anren in the hospital bed with a pale face. Her enchanting eyebrows were like poisonous thorns in her eyes. She carefully arranged it just to make her lose face in front of everyone and beg for mercy, just to trample her under her feet. And him? He knew these things, didn't he? That's why he didn't show up on time. There was no such thing as fairness and justice in this world. Who would protect you? Yi Huanyan took a deep breath and slowly turned around to face the reporters and the cameras. I just got out of the detention center yesterday. I'm here today mainly because I want to talk to Miss Sheng in private. Since everyone is here, it's fine. The cameras were all pointed at her, and the long microphones were almost poking her face. From today onwards, I am no longer an employee of pleasure. My actions have nothing to do with pleasure. They are my personal actions. Everyone faintly realized that something was wrong and looked at each other. I have some responsibility for the collapse of the lampstand, but such responsibility is only my responsibility as a project manager for not protecting the staff well. After I resign, this matter is settled with me. As for the apology, I don't intend to do so, because Sheng Anren inverted black and white and framed me for intentional injury. We'll see you in court. Yi Huanyan's voice wasn't loud, but it was very clear. It was so clear that every word was captured by the reporters' cameras and quickly spread like wildfire on the internet. Sheng Anren's face was livid. She stared at Yi Huanyan's back and couldn't say a word. Yi Huanyan didn't even look at her. She broke through the protection of the bodyguards and walked towards the door. Undoubtedly, she was surrounded by a large group of reporters. It was difficult to move an inch. She was blocked all the way to the hospital. Ling Han saw such a scene as soon as he came out of the elevator. His face darkened. He walked into the crowd in a few steps, squeezed through two reporters, and scolded in a cold voice. Where are the bodyguards? Where are the security guards of the hospital? Who let you in? Seeing Ling Han's presence, the reporters were like finding a treasure. They surrounded Yi Huanyan and Ling Han and asked all kinds of questions. President Ling, is your relationship with Secretary Yi true? Have you broken up with Sheng Anren? Secretary Yi stepped in your relationship. Did you take the initiative or did she? Secretary Yi refused to admit that she deliberately hurt people. Which side are you on? Under the barrage of questions from the reporters, Ling Han had almost figured out the situation. Yi Huanyan didn't apologize, and the reporters were probably brought here by Sheng Anren. Neither of these two women was easy to worry about. After this incident, will you continue to be together? Hearing this, a cold light flashed in Ling Han's eyes, and he said coldly, What do you mean by deliberately hurting people? This is just a prop accident in the company. Pleasure Group will be responsible for it to the end. After saying this, Ling Han had already dragged Yi Huanyan into the elevator. Xiaomu blocked the reporters at the entrance of the elevator and closed the door. In the elevator, Yi Huanyan's eyes were slightly red. She lowered her head and didn't say a word. From beginning to end, she refused to look at Ling Han. Ling Han frowned and didn't know what to say. In the end, he sent her to the parking lot. When Xiaomu arrived, he ordered in a deep voice, Send her home. Watch out on the road. Don't be followed. After sending Yi Huanyan away, Ling Han returned to Sheng Anren's ward in the inpatient department. The reporters had already left. In the ward, Sheng Anren was sitting on the bed and peeling an apple. Seeing him come, she handed the freshly peeled apple to him. Han, you're here. Have an apple. Ling Han glanced at the apple but didn't take it. She took it back in embarrassment and put it on a plate. She glanced at Sister Sue, who understood and left the ward and closed the door. Did you call the reporters? We agreed that the apology would end. How are you going to deal with this mess? Ling Han's face was gloomy and very unhappy. Sheng Anren was stunned for a few seconds and looked aggrieved. But if I don't call the reporters, how can I give my fans an explanation? This matter can't end in an unclear manner, right? Han, why can't you think about it from my point of view? And I didn't think of calling the reporters at first. It was Sister Sue who said that we should do this. Yi Huanyan has already agreed to resign from pleasure in front of so many reporters. Withdraw the lawsuit. Ling Han's voice was a bit gloomy. He had just heard about this from Qiao Mu. Seeing his unwilling appearance, a trace of anger flashed through Sheng Amren's eyes. Han, you've made things difficult for me time and time again for a secretary. Did I cause this? Who are you to her and who are you to me? Why are you speaking for her? Can you consider me? As she spoke, she pulled on the broken rib wound on her waist. She sucked in a breath of cold air, and her facial features twisted together. Stimulated by the pain, tears welled up in her eyes. She felt very wronged. Han, who are you to speak for her? You haven't cared so much about me since I got injured. Have you ever thought about my feelings? Hearing this, Ling Han's expression tightened. The words that he originally wanted to say were forcefully suppressed by her choking sobs. Even though he had the power and ability to make Sheng Amren withdraw the lawsuit, it was not right to do so since Sheng Amren had done so much for the company. However, looking at Sheng Amren's attitude, it would be difficult to reverse the confrontation in court with just a few words from him. Once they confronted in court, with Yi Huanyan's temper, she would definitely be at a disadvantage. What if I said that as long as you are willing to withdraw the lawsuit, you can mention any condition as long as I can do it? He asked. Chapter 191. After Ling Han said this, there was a long silence in the ward. Sheng Amren's eyes bore, took a deep breath, bowed his head and wiped his tears with a tissue. When he raised his head, he looked disappointed. Han, I've always wanted to know what my position is in your heart. Do you still think I'm just a greedy and vain woman? Can you just use money to get rid of it? Ling Han frowns. He doesn't have the leisure to talk to her about this topic now, or he didn't plan to talk to her since he knew her. She is a smart woman. She never asks more than what men don't want to mention. In what capacity are you replacing Yi Huanyan to make these conditions to me? You don't need to know so much. Ling Han is a little impatient. His attitude has shown everything. The feelings of the man in front of her are destined not to belong to her. Sheng Amren's inner fluctuations have not been shown on the surface, but she has made a decision in her heart. Well, I won't ask. Don't you say the conditions? My only condition is that you admit our relationship in front of the reporters. She knew that it was impossible to threaten Ling Han to marry her for such a small case, but it was not difficult for him to admit the relationship between them. After all, even if he never responded positively, the outside world would say so. Ling Han doesn't like being threatened. Her purpose is to marry him. Naturally, she won't embarrass him. She wants the identity of a serious girlfriend. This request is not excessive at all. Ling Han just frowned a little, and then nodded. Seeing him nod, Sheng Amren's face eased down, and his voice was soft. He asked carefully, since Yi Huanyan is unwilling to settle out of court, it is inevitable that we will go to court. At that time, I will ask the lawyer to be lenient and won't hold on to her. At that time, we will just let it go. At most, we will compensate her. This result is because of you. The initiative is in Sheng Amren's hands. Ling Han looks at her tearful appearance and knows that there is no other way. It was also good to let Yi Huanyan learn a lesson. That way, she would know her place. In the future, she would be more obedient to her and avoid trouble. Thinking that Yi Huanyan was alone at home, Ling Han didn't stay for long before leaving. Sheng Amren's agent, Sister Sue, sat by the bed, put the slices of apple on a plate, and handed them to her. She asked, then let's forget about this matter. I'll go and say hello to Lawyer Li, and let Yi Huanyan go. Hearing this, Sheng Amren sneered. Just tell that to Ling Han. As for that woman, tell Lawyer Li that it's best to sue her until she goes to jail. I'll give him an extra 100,000 yuan if she's sentenced to another month. Let him decide what to do. I'm afraid that President Ling will privately use his connections to find someone to take care of this case. The agent revealed a difficult expression. Of course, you can't stop him from looking for someone. He will look for someone and so will we. Sheng Amren's eyes were cold. If President Li comes to see me tomorrow, you don't have to stop him. No matter what Ling Han said or what conditions he promised her, as long as Yi Huanyan was around him, her position would never be stable. This thorn in her side must be removed. Otherwise, who knew who would be Mrs. Ling after dawn? The summons from the Lanjiang City Court soon arrived at Yi Huanyan's hands. After the apology incident that day, Yi Huanyan packed up her things and moved out of the villa in Jinjiang Park in a fit of pique. Ling Han did not stop her, unlike his usual self. He knew that she was angry, and this kind of anger had to go out and be rebuffed. Staying by his side would only hurt others and hurt herself. Ji Xiaoya was extremely busy with her work. Everyone in the industry knew the intensity of her work at Fengshang. She had taken some time to call Ling Han in private to ask about the case. If she hadn't gotten the news from Ling Han that Sheng Amren had relented, she wouldn't have dared to let Yi Huanyan stay at her place and mess around. When she came back from work in the evening, Ji Xiaoya opened the door with takeout. As soon as she entered the door, she saw Yi Huanyan dressed neatly and looking like she was going out. "Where are you going?" "I brought you food." Yi Huanyan looked up at her. "I'm going to see a lawyer." "A lawyer? What lawyer are you going to see?" "Since I'm going to a lawsuit, I have to have a lawyer. Lu Shen helped me arrange a lawyer. I'm going to meet him today." Yi Huanyan put on her high heels, picked up her bag, and was about to leave. Ji Xiaoya quickly pulled her back. "Didn't Ling Han find a lawyer for you? It's not appropriate for you to see Su Nianhua at this juncture." Ji Xiaoya knew that Su Nianhua was Yi Huanyan's first love, and it was clear that Ling Han was afraid of him. At this time, it was easy to cause misunderstandings if she went to see Su Nianhua. These 2 days, Su Nianhua's matter had been a hot topic on the internet. If she was photographed meeting him and got in the car, wouldn't she be looking for trouble? As soon as she heard the words Ling Han, Yi Huanyan's face sank. "I don't need him to find a lawyer. If he finds a lawyer, it's good enough that he doesn't help Sheng Amren to harm me." Hearing this, Ji Xiaoya had no choice but to frown. "Then I'll go with you." Yi Huanyan refused without thinking. "Aren't you busy with the latest issue of the magazine these 2 days? Hurry up and have a rest." "I'll go by myself." Fengshang magazine was going to be published in 2 days. It was said that the printing plant that Fengshang had a long-term cooperation with had a failure. It was not easy to find a new printing plant, so Ji Xiaoya was really busy. Yi Huanyan didn't intend to let her wade in the muddy water, so she left in a hurry after saying a sentence. Ji Xiaoya was carrying takeout soup in her hand. She couldn't catch up with her, so she had to hold the door and shout, "Come back early." The place was a cafe. There were few people in the cafe at night. Su Nianhua was wearing a mask and a large windbreaker. Sitting opposite him was a man in a suit and leather shoes, wearing a pair of gentle glasses. "This is Lawyer Lu, and this is my friend Yi Huanyan." After a brief introduction by Su Nianhua, the two sides nodded and got to know each other. Lawyer Lu didn't talk much nonsense and went straight to the subject. "This case has been a hot topic on the internet recently, so I also know a little about it. But you still have to tell me the details clearly. Don't hide anything. We don't want the other party to find a breakthrough point from something we don't know. We'll be caught off guard at that time." Yi Huanyan nodded. She believed that the person Su Nianhua found should be reliable. Lawyer Lu asked the same questions as when she was at the police station. He asked her about her relationship with Ling Han and how many conflicts she had with Sheng Amren. However, Lawyer Lu asked more details, even including some small details that happened in ordinary times. "You mean the day before the accident, she threatened you with your relationship with Ling Han and asked you to replace the extras in the swimming pool in the cold?" "I wasn't the only one. There were other staff members. But she was the one who brought it up, right? During this time, she has been embarrassing you. The staff involved in the shooting should be obvious to all, right?" Yi Huanyan nodded hesitantly. Chapter 192. If you can find those staff members who are willing to testify for you and prove that Sheng Amren is the one who has been making things difficult for you, then the intentional injury can be explained in another way. Also, it's best to find the person who filmed the video that is circulating online. The lawyer that Su Nianhua introduced was very professional, and the questions he asked were very critical. They seemed inconspicuous, but in fact they were worth considering. By the time they finished talking, it was already midnight. When they were leaving, Lawyer Lu reminded them, "You'd better consider my suggestion. If you do as I say, at least the motive of intentional injury will not be established." Su Nianhua drove Yi Huanyan back. When they were downstairs of Ji Xiaoya's bachelor apartment, he asked, "Actually, you can consider Lawyer Lu's suggestion. I think it's best to use extraordinary means in extraordinary times. This will also be beneficial to your side." Yi Huanyan frowned. "Forget it. I don't want to drag you into this." "I don't mind." Su Nianhua's eyes were like water, gentle and delicate. "I mind. Lu Shen, I'm already very grateful that you helped me." Su Nianhua's eyes darkened a little as he questioned, "You're afraid that Ling Han will misunderstand us because of him?" "No." Yi Huanyan shook her head. "I don't want to know what he's thinking now. I just want to win the case." After watching Yi Huanyan walk into the building, Su Nianhua drove away. While driving, he dialed a number. A clear voice came from the other end of the phone. "Why? You've thought about it so quickly? When you're in court, you don't have to worry about what Yin Yin will think. Just do what you can to win the case." "You mean?" "Don't worry. When the time comes, Yin Yin won't expose you." Lawyer Lu requested that during the confrontation in court, Yi Huanyan would be Su Nianhua's girlfriend, while she could only be Ling Han's ex-girlfriend. In addition, there was the existence of a first love relationship between them, and Su Nianhua had returned to China for her. This statement was actually very credible. On the surface, once Yi Huanyan fell in love with someone else and became a couple with Su Nianhua, then the other party's claim of intentional injury would no longer exist, and their chances of winning the lawsuit would be higher. On the day of the trial, because Sheng Amren was a public figure, there were a lot more security guards at the entrance of the court, and reporters also surrounded him in circles. Sheng Amren was still injured. She appeared in court in a wheelchair and was surrounded by reporters. She wore sunglasses and lowered her head. She never made any response. The plaintiff and the defendant were both present, and so were their lawyers. Yi Huanyan looked up and glanced at the audience. Ji Xiaoya couldn't be present because of the review of the newspaper. Su Nianhua sat in the corner, wearing a hat and a scarf, looking very low-key. Ling Han didn't come. At the beginning, it was time for the lawyers of both parties to make their statements. Sheng Anren took off her sunglasses and stared coldly at Yi Huanyan, as if she was looking at her enemy. If she didn't know what was going on, Yi Huanyan felt that she would have believed that she had really pushed the lampstand and hurt her. After mentioning the motive of intentional injury, Jin Yan's lawyer interrupted the other party's lawyer. "Your Honor, we have something to say about the motive of the injury mentioned by the plaintiff's lawyer." The judge nodded. At this moment, Ling Han walked in a well-tailored suit, braving the cold wind outside the court. He found a seat nearby and sat down. Lawyer Lu glanced at the audience. The plaintiff's lawyer said that Miss Yi Huanyan was jealous of Miss Sheng Anren's status as the girlfriend of her boss. "We don't agree with this, because first of all, Miss Yi Huanyan has never admitted that she is Mr. Ling Han's girlfriend. Mr. Ling Han is the same. I think we can ask Your Honor to confirm this with Mr. Ling Han." The judge glanced at the audience and asked loudly, "Is Ling Han here?" Ling Han frowned and stood up slowly. "Is what the defendant's lawyer said true? You and Yi Huanyan are not boyfriend and girlfriend?" Ling Han glanced at Yi Huanyan and nodded slightly. "Okay," the defendant's lawyer continued. Lawyer Lu glanced at the audience again. "Second of all, Miss Yi Huanyan is not single, so it is ridiculous to say that she deliberately hurt someone because of love. A few days ago, Miss Yi Huanyan got back together with her first boyfriend." Ling Han's face darkened when he heard this. He had already noticed Su Nianhua sitting in the corner. He didn't expect that Yi Huanyan would dare to let the lawyer make up such a story in order to win the case. At that moment, Yi Huanyan's expression froze. She stared at the lawyer in astonishment. This was not within the original discussion. What evidence do you have? The judge asked. Lawyer Lu glanced at the audience and said confidently, "Of course, Miss Yi Huanyan's boyfriend, Mr. Su Nianhua, whose real name is Lu Shun, is now present. Your Honor can question him in court." Su Nianhua stood up and gestured. His voice was gentle and elegant. "I met Yin Yin 11 years ago, but we broke up because of a misunderstanding. I returned to China last year for her." The judge nodded and gestured for him to sit down. At this moment, Ling Han's face was extremely dark. Sheng Inren's lawyer raised his hand. "Your Honor, I don't think that the defendant's claim that Miss Yi Huanyan already has a boyfriend can cover up the motive of deliberately hurting someone. We have new evidence to prove that after Miss Sheng Inren was injured, Yi Huanyan was still cohabiting with Ling Han." The audience was in an uproar when they heard this. Most of the people who came were from Sheng Inren's studio, and there were also Pleasure's internal employees. Naturally, there was no lack of reporters with passes. Sheng Inren's side submitted some photos taken by stalkers, including Qiao Mu driving Yi Huanyan back to Jinjiang Court, as well as Ling Han and Yi Huanyan entering and exiting Jinjiang Court one after another. Cohabitation was an undeniable fact. When the judge asked Yi Huanyan if she was cohabiting with Ling Han, she nodded with a pale face. Lawyer Lu frowned and argued, "Your Honor, nominally, Yi Huanyan is Ling Han's half-sister, so it's not strange for them to live under the same roof. However, this doesn't prove that Yi Huanyan would deliberately hurt someone for Ling Han." "Your Honor," the other side's lawyer also said that their parents have already passed away. Since they are not related by blood, why should they live under the same roof? Don't they even know how to avoid suspicion? Besides, the Ling family has a lot of properties, so why can't they live anywhere? Why should they live in the same house? The lawyer was so aggressive that even Sheng Amren herself couldn't listen to him anymore. She looked at Ling Han's expression below the stage. He was as cold as ice, and didn't even look at her. If this continued, she and Ling Han would be finished. She gave the lawyer a look, and at this time, the judge had already struck the gavel. The debate between the two sides ended here, and the judge had to discuss with the jury how to sentence. Chapter 193. Yi Huanyan's face was very pale. The trial was far beyond her expectation. There were too many unexpected things. Although she had prepared for it, she didn't expect Sheng Anren to be so desperate. In front of so many people, she directly announced the relationship between her and Ling Han. Now the relationship between her and Ling Han, even if Ling Han wanted to hide it, he couldn't. No matter what the result of the trial was from now on, in the eyes of people who knew about it, she was destined to be a contemptible existence. Lawyer Lu returned to her inside. She faintly knew that she had lost the case. In fact, she had lost from the beginning. The other side had witnesses and material evidence, but none of the witnesses she should have brought were willing to appear. Lawyer Lu was holding on alone, which was very difficult. The final verdict in the court was almost expected by everyone. The defendant Yi Huanyan deliberately hurt people and caused the plaintiff Sheng Amren to be injured. The hospital determined that it was a serious injury. According to Article 234 of the criminal law, Yi Huanyan was sentenced to 1 year in prison, which was to be executed immediately. Without evidence, there was no way to defend herself. Yi Huanyan's eyes were red, and there seemed to be a fire in her chest. She had nowhere to vent. Why was she guilty of something she didn't do? Before she was taken away, she looked at the audience. Su Nianhua had stood up and looked at him guiltily, while other people were pointing and talking about it. It was almost one-sided to support Sheng Anren. She became a woman who was crazy obsessed with her half-brother. She was so jealous that she deliberately hurt people. Finally, her eyes fell on Ling Han. His face was cold, and even a little indifferent when he looked at her. What was the disappointment in his eyes? Did he also believe that she deliberately hurt people? Yi Huanyan gave a wry smile and took back her eyes. After seeing Ling Han's alienated appearance, she suddenly breathed a sigh of relief at such a result. It was better to stay in prison than to go back and explain these things to her friends. As for her colleagues, she remembered that she had already resigned, so she didn't need to explain anything to her colleagues. However, this matter had been blown out of proportion. He was afraid that his grandmother would find out and be very disappointed in him. After working for so many years, she was tired. On the opposite side of the plaintiff's seat, Sheng Amren's eyes flashed with pride and viciousness. A year in prison was enough for Yi Huanyan to reflect on herself. She sat in a wheelchair and was interviewed by reporters. Will this case affect your relationship with Mr. Ling Han? Sheng Amren glanced at Ling Han in the distance and pursed her lips. We really love each other. Anyway, no matter what happens, I firmly believe that it has nothing to do with my boyfriend. He is a clean and honest person. At this moment, Ling Han's gaze fell on her. It was like a cold blade that froze her smile. The reporter was stunned. He followed Sheng Amren's gaze and looked back, only to see that Ling Han had already turned around and left. Sheng Amren clenched her fingers and barely pulled out a smile. Seeing this, the agent hurriedly signaled 2 bodyguards to block the reporters who swarmed up. Today, Amren's body is not very comfortable. Let's interview next time. Next time we'll arrange the same time. Ling Han walked out of the court and walked towards the parking lot in a daze. Such a result was unexpected, but at the moment, it made him very gratified. Yi Huanyan, a woman who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, should be taught a lesson. She should stay in prison for 2 days to let her know that no one can protect her except herself. Sun Yanhua, who she is now attached to, is just a singer in his company who can come and go at any time. As long as he wants to, he can get out of the entertainment circle at any time and can't turn over. You just watch Yin being put into prison? Suddenly, a familiar man's voice sounded behind him, interrupting his action of opening the door. He slowly turned around and saw Sun Yanhua walking towards him in a silver-white windbreaker, with a sullen look on his face. You know what Sheng Amren did, don't you? Why didn't you stop it? Why should I stop it? Ling Han looked at him coldly, and his tone was as cold as his face. What's your relationship with her? Why do you have the right to question me? Sun Yanhua only felt a burst of fire in his chest and said coldly, Didn't you hear? I'm her boyfriend. Hearing this, Ling Han sneered and raised his chin slightly with a contemptuous expression. Boyfriend? Since you're her boyfriend, then find a way to get her out. Sun Yanhua's face stiffened, and his clenched fists trembled slightly. He had just returned to the country, and now he still needed to rely on pleasure to help him gain a foothold. He had connections, but he didn't have a way in this area. However, it was not impossible to get Yi Huanyan out, unless he asked his father. But if this path could be taken, he would have done it long before the trial. It had been 11 years, but he felt that he was still as useless as he was 11 years ago. Ling Han sneered. If you don't have the ability, then don't steal other people's women. His cold tone was full of sarcasm, and it drifted in the cold wind. After saying this, he pulled open the car door and left. Sun Yanhua's white figure was reflected in the rearview mirror. It was getting farther and farther away, and in the end it was only a small dot, ridiculously small. Ling Han pressed the phone number. Xiao Mu's voice sounded from the other end of the phone. Director Ling. Xiao Mu, you already know the result of the court, right? Xiao Mu was supposed to come with him today, but the company needed him to sign a contract, so someone else was sent. Hearing Ling Han's question, Xiao Mu had a rough idea of what he wanted her to do. Yes, Xiao Dong has already told me the situation. 1 year in prison. If we try to get a suspended sentence, we should be able to get her out in 2 months at most. I'm just about to contact Director Wang. This isn't difficult. Ling Han pondered for a while. Suddenly, the image of Sun Yanhua baring his fangs and brandishing his claws in front of him in the parking lot flashed across his mind. He immediately felt displeased and said in a low voice, Don't worry. Let her stay in prison for 10 days to half a month to reflect on her actions. The person on the other end of the phone was stunned for a moment, and then said, Understood. Some people who overestimated themselves had to face the wall. Only then would they know that there were some things that they couldn't keep even if they got them. As for Yi Huanyan, she had learned her lesson by suffering in prison. After she got out, she realized that she had no other choice but to rely on him. She had to make a clean break with Su Nianhua. This was the bottom line for him to accept her again. The car was driving on the ring highway, and the wind was blowing through the windows. Under the colorful neon lights of Lanjiang City, there was an endless stream of traffic, and everything was bustling. The phone in the car kept vibrating. After hanging up the call with Qiao Mu, the old lady kept calling him nonstop. She was probably watching the news. After hanging up the fourth time, Ling Han frowned, and his eyes were full of irritation. He hadn't figured out how to explain it to Grandma. Chapter 194. Lanjiang City Women's Prison. For the first time, Yi Huanyan personally felt the coldness of this place. It was far beyond her imagination. Except for the prison guards, all the female prisoners were wearing the same gray and white striped shirts. When she stepped into the fourth prison, the harsh atmosphere made her shiver violently. There was a large bed on the right side of the door. When the prison guards entered, the 5 people were all squatting under the bed, holding their heads and counting. Their heads were lowered, so no one could see their faces. When the prison guards left, the door was locked. After that click sound, the 5 people under the bed raised their heads and looked at her with inquiring eyes. "Hey, what did you do?" The one who spoke was the woman closest to Yi Huanyan. She was in her early 30s, had a sallow complexion, shoulder-length hair, and was very thin. Her cheekbones were very prominent on both sides of her face. At this moment, she was sizing her up with a playful look in her eyes. Yi Huanyan frowned and didn't say anything. "I'm asking you a question." Another voice sounded a bit sharp. It was the person behind the first woman who spoke. She was about the same age as the first woman. Her long hair was meticulously tied behind her head. Her skin was dark, and she was about half a head taller than the first woman. She was tall and strong, like a northerner. Yi Huanyan looked up and stared at her, her expression somewhat cold. She had nothing now, so she wasn't afraid of anything. "Second sister, she still dares to stare at you." There was a person between the woman who spoke and the long-haired woman. She looked to be in her early 20s. She had a pretty face and fair skin. When she looked at Yi Huanyan, she was somewhat arrogant. "Stupid girl, you're already here. And you still think you're a princess?" The long-haired woman who was called second sister immediately raised her eyebrows and glared fiercely at Yi Huanyan. "You'd better behave yourself. You'll sleep there." Following her gaze, Yi Huanyan glanced at the corner of the room. There was a wall that was half the height of a person between them and the toilet by the window. It emitted an indescribable smell. The bunk bed behind the group of women on the right didn't have a fixed boundary, but judging from the neatly folded blankets, there were a total of 6 beds. They were numbered from 1 to 6. On the first bed, there was a deck of playing cards, 2 books, 2 coats, and some miscellaneous items. The other 5 beds were clean, but those clean beds were obviously occupied. Yi Huanyan lowered her head and looked at the card on her wrist. According to the number, she was the 6th bed in the prison and was the closest to the door. She carried her toiletries and walked towards bed number 6, which was the closest to her, expressionlessly. Don't you King understand human language?" Before Yi Huanyan could walk to bed number 6, second sister took the initiative to shout. Yi Huanyan didn't even look at her. She reached for the pillow on the bed. "My second sister is talking to you." The young girl who had fanned the flames just now walked past the 3 people in front of her and went behind Yi Huanyan. She raised her hand and pushed her. "Did you hear that?" Yi Huanyan's body paused slightly. She raised her wrist and put it in front of the young girl. The young girl was stunned. "What are you doing?" "I'm in bed number 6. Yi Huanyan's voice was a little hoarse. Hearing this, the young girl's face stiffened. Her eyes were immediately dyed with a layer of sullen anger. She raised her hand and grabbed Yi Huanyan's hair. "Is there something King wrong with your head? Is this a choice you can make? Don't you know what this place is?" Yi Huanyan felt pain. She felt her scalp go numb from being grabbed and fell to one side. "I think you need to be taught a lesson. The toilet smells so bad. It's right in front of bed number 1. Do you want our eldest sister to sleep there? King hell, I'm going to kill you." The young girl grabbed her hair and pressed her on the bed. She raised her hand and was about to slap her. Little Five. Suddenly, a steady voice sounded. The young girl's arm that was already in midair suddenly stopped. Enough. Let go. But eldest sister, she doesn't know the rules. You won't listen to me anymore. After a while, Yi Huanyan felt the pressure on her scalp loosen. The weight on her shoulders also disappeared. She supported herself on the bed and slowly stood up. She gritted her teeth and continued to tidy her bed. The young girl seemed a little unwilling. She spat and said disdainfully, "Is she an idiot? What did you do to get in here?" It was the same voice from before. It sounded a little indifferent, as if it didn't care. It was just a casual greeting, and asked casually, "I didn't do anything." Yi Huanyan's face darkened. As soon as she finished speaking, a circle of scornful laughter came from behind her. There's really something wrong with her brain. All right, stop laughing. Let her tidy up the first bunk. You can sleep there. The one who spoke was the blonde woman who first asked Yi Huanyan. Did you hear that? Third sister is being merciful, and let you sleep in the first bunk. Hurry up and tidy it up. Yi Huanyan knew that in this place, even the prison guards wouldn't be able to do anything if something happened. She gritted her teeth and walked to the first bunk with her toiletries. When the bedsheets were spread, the woman beside her took her pillow and changed the pillowcase for her. The woman looked about the same age as her. She was about 25 or 26 years old. Her skin was fair, and her eyes were big and bright. Her long black hair was neatly coiled behind her head. Other than her sickly pale face, she could be said to be a standard beauty. What surprised Jin Yen was that her temperament didn't fit in here. Only then did Yi Huanyan realize that from the moment she entered the room, this woman hadn't spoken a word. It seemed as if she wasn't with this group of people. After the initial show of strength, except for the big sister, who spoke up for Yi Huanyan, who was holding a book, the other three women formed a circle and played Fight the Landlord on the sixth bunk. They chatted and laughed as if nothing had happened. What kind of tiger's den was this? Yi Huanyan didn't know. She never thought that she would be in such a place one day. After the bedsheets and the quilt cover were done, Yi Huanyan sat on the bed in a daze. At dinner time, everyone went to the cafeteria for dinner. There were only 3 meals a day when they could leave this prison. On the way from the fourth prison to the cafeteria, they would pass by a clothes factory. There were many cellmates who wore the same clothes as them doing labor services. After returning from dinner, Yi Huanyan stood at the entrance of the factory for a while. She frowned and was urged to go back by the prison guards behind her. The woman who helped her change the bedsheets walked behind her and spoke to her for the first time. This is a packaging factory. It's all simple manual labor, but it requires a high degree of cooperation. Basically, it's done by those who have been sentenced for more than 5 years. They're very skilled. Don't worry, we won't be assigned here. Only then did Yi Huanyan realize that this woman's voice was actually very sweet. It was different from her pale and sickly appearance. When she spoke, there was an intoxicating charm. It was undeniable that she was really beautiful. Chapter 195. Yi Huanyan was a little absent-minded, until she walked to the entrance of prison number 4. She smiled faintly and patted her hand. My name is Fuingxiang. We'll be cellmates from now on. Let's take care of each other. Yi Huanyan was stunned and lowered her eyes. My name is Yi Huanyan. Yo, the executive is back. A sharp voice cut in forcefully. Yi Huanyan raised her head slightly and saw Xiao Wu, who was sitting on the third bed with his legs crossed and staring at her with contempt. I heard that you used to be the executive of that pleasure group. Are you the boss's mistress? Where did she hear this from? Yi Huanyan had no idea. They were isolated from the world, but the prison guards were not. Her case was the talk of the town, so it was not surprising that the people here knew about it. After Xiao Wu said this, she immediately attracted the attention of the other 4 people, including the big sister, who had been reading and had not said much. Yi Huanyan stood at the door for a while. She did not say anything and walked straight to the bathroom. Just as she reached the door, her shoulder was hit hard. She staggered and slammed into the wall. After a cry of surprise, she held her shoulder and slowly squatted down. Her entire shoulder bone seemed to have cracked from the impact. The heart-wrenching pain was so painful that it twisted her body. Xiao Wu spat at her. What the hell is this? I hate mistresses the most in my life. In our place, you have to give me a first-come, first-served toilet. No matter what kind of executive you are, you still sleep with men. When Xiao Wu did this, the other 4 people looked on coldly. Fu Yingxiang's eyes were a little concerned, but she had no intention of helping. In this place, it was not easy to protect oneself. No one was willing to offend anyone. Yi Huanyan shrank into a corner, her whole body trembling because of anger. Thinking of what had happened in the past few days, thinking of the earth-shaking changes in the past year, thinking of those who had abandoned her and left one after another. In this world, there seemed to be nothing left for her to miss. Her eyes were red, but there were no tears. After a while, she slowly raised her head and glared at Little Five, who was about to go to the toilet. I'm not a mistress. Little Five was stunned for a moment, as if he couldn't believe that she dared to refute him. He turned around and looked at her. What did you say? I said I'm not a mistress. She had known Ling Han before, so why did everyone say that she was a mistress? Hey, what kind of F***king bitch are you? Little Five rolled up her sleeves and grabbed Jean Yan's collar, dragging her up from the wall. She raised her hand and slapped her. Pa! The sound resounded throughout the entire room. This time no one stopped her. No one spoke up for Yi Huanyan. Big sister looked at Yi Huanyan with a complicated expression. She even seemed to be disgusted. She no longer had any intention of stopping this dispute. This slap caused Yi Huanyan's vision to turn black. Her ears buzzed and buzzed. She leaned to one side and covered her burning cheek. She looked at Little Five in disbelief. Little Five squatted in front of her and grabbed her collar. She patted the other side of her face with one hand. His eyes were cold as he sneered. What's the matter? Why are you being so arrogant here? Did you hurt someone on purpose? You're quite capable. I hate B***cheese like you who want to pretend to be a chastity. If it were any other time, Yi Huanyan would have slapped him back. However, at this moment, it seemed that ever since the court decided the case, and she saw that person leave resolutely, she had been drained of all strength. She didn't have the strength to resist such violence. She could only stare at Little Five and repeat, I'm not a mistress. If I say you are, then you are. With that said, he slapped her again. Yi Huanyan was slapped so hard that half of her face was pressed against the wall. Her fair cheeks were red and swollen, but she still stubbornly turned her head. I'm not a mistress. You F***king. Slap. I'm not a mistress. Slap. I'm not. You F***king still dare to say that. I'll kill you. After a few slaps, Yi Huanyan was still muttering those words with blood at the corner of her mouth. Meanwhile, Little Five's hands had begun to tremble. She could feel the gazes of the 4 people behind her. If she didn't beat her into submission now, then in the future, it would be difficult to explain her status here. There was such an unreasonable rule in prison. Whoever had the hardest bones would be the boss. When she heard Yi Huanyan say that she wasn't a mistress again, the prison guard's voice sounded at the door. What are you doing? Why are you making so much noise? If you don't want to sleep, go run laps in the field. Everyone in the room was as if they were facing a great enemy. They hugged their heads and squatted under the bed. There was a rustling sound on the door. The prison guard opened the door and glanced at the crowd indifferently. His gaze fell on Yi Huanyan. He frowned and said, What's going on? Did you get into a fight? No one dared to answer. The second sister hesitated for a moment. No, she fell on her own. It has nothing to do with us. The prison guard stared at Yi Huanyan's red and swollen face, and his expression darkened. All of you behave yourselves. Do you all want to postpone your release? Everyone fell silent and hugged their heads without saying a word. After the prison guard left, Little Five opened her palms. Her palms were red, and she didn't even have the strength to raise them. She clenched her fingers, took a deep breath, and said coldly, As long as you admit that you're a mistress, I won't hit you. I'm not. Little Five's eyes were red. She clenched her fists and slowly raised them. Little Five, wait a minute. The person who spoke was the eldest sister. The eldest sister had a head of black and beautiful short hair that reached her ears. Her skin was delicate and fair, and there was a hint of arrogance in her eyes. When she stood up, she was about 1.7 meters tall. When she didn't speak, she gave people the impression that she was imposing without being angry, like Wang Shifeng in Dream of the Red Chamber. But she didn't smile as much as Wang Shifeng. She stood up from the bed with her hands on her knees and paced in front of Yi Huanyan. She pushed little Five away, slowly squatted down, and pinched Yi Huanyan's chin. Her voice was a little cold. "You said you're not a mistress?" "I'm not." Yi Huanyan's voice was a little weak. "Why did you come in?" The eldest sister stared at Yi Huanyan. When she asked this question, her entire body stiffened. There was a moment of emptiness in her eyes. Then her eyes reddened as she muttered, "I don't know." Pfft. Little Five twisted her wrist and sneered. "There's someone who doesn't know why they came in? Did you offend the royal family?" The eldest sister looked up and glanced at Little Five. Little Five was shocked by the look in her eyes. She felt as if there was a fishbone stuck in her throat, and the twisting of her wrist also stiffened. "All right, do what you're supposed to do. Don't cause trouble. Behave." The eldest sister let go of Yi Huanyan's chin, turned around, and returned to her bed. She flipped open the book that she had been reading all this time. The Way of Marriage. Other than Fu Yingxiang, the other three people sat in a circle and played dodiju. In this place, money was useless. There were only a few things that could be traded. Among them, cigarettes were a substitute for money. Their bet was their cigarettes. The eldest sister leaned on the bed and glanced at her. There seemed to be a deep meaning in her eyes. Chapter 196. Yi Huanyan supported herself against the wall and stood up. Her chest was in pain, and her cheeks were numb. When she touched them, she could feel a hole in them, as if they were swollen. "Fourth sister, why don't you come over and play with the eggs?" It was Xiao Wu who spoke. Fu Yingxiang was slightly stunned and smiled. "You know, I don't play cards and I don't smoke." Xiao Wu held a cigarette between her fingers and knocked it in the ashtray beside the bed skillfully. She raised her eyebrows and said, "Up to you. Don't worry about that woman. She's most likely a lunatic." These words were half advice, half warning. Fu Yingxiang frowned and cast a concerned look at Yi Huanyan. She was a little troubled. Yi Huanyan nodded with difficulty, indicating that she understood. She limped towards the toilet. Life here was destined to be gloomy. She accepted her fate. Late at night, the pungent smell of the toilet rushed into her breath, and she could not sleep all night. The next morning, the prison guard came very early and opened the door with a clatter. Xiao Wu rubbed her eyes and raised her head from under the blanket. "Sis, are you having breakfast so early today?" She had been here for half a year and was very familiar with the prison guard. The prison guard was a woman in her 40s. She glared at her sternly and said in a deep voice, "What breakfast? There's a new person here. You guys wake up early and gather for breakfast later. This morning we have to mow the prison lawn." "New person?" Sure enough, when Yi Huanyan walked out of the toilet, she saw a thin and weak figure standing at the door. She was holding a plastic basin with her toiletries inside. She lowered her head and did not say a word, just like when she first arrived. Xiao Wu sat up abruptly and said in surprise, "Aren't we full here? Where is she sleeping?" The prison guard impatiently said, 1847. "Aren't you leaving in 2 days? I'll let her take 1847's position in 2 days. Do as you see fit. Don't make trouble for me." 1847 was the third sister. She was a blonde woman with a sallow complexion. She was the first person to talk to Yi Huanyan. Perhaps it was because she only had a few days left in her sentence, so she didn't have any ill intentions towards Yi Huanyan. She just wanted to get out of here peacefully. Hearing this, Xiao Wu's eyes froze. It seemed that the words 1847 wants to leave had made him lose his sleepiness. He was even a little annoyed, so he sat by the bed and stared coldly at the woman who had just arrived. "What are you shouting for? What did you do?" The woman who had just arrived looked very timid. She hugged her toiletries and stood obediently at the door. She whispered, "My name is Xiao Yi. I steal things." Upon hearing the word steal, Little Five's eyes lit up. "Yo, what did you steal?" Yi Huanyan did not understand why she had such a reaction. Fu Yingxiang, who was on her way to the restroom, walked past her and smiled. She lowered her voice and said, "Little Five is here because she stole." It turned out that she had met someone in the same industry. It was a bit ridiculous, but because this woman was here because she stole things, Little Five took extra care of her. She looked at Big Sister with a grin. "Big Sister, this is my colleague. She can sleep with me tonight. What do you think?" Big Sister did not even look up. She hummed in agreement, as if she did not care who was sleeping next to her. In the office of the president of the pleasure group, Xiaodong sent the documents that needed to be dealt with that day to the office. "President Ling, when you were in a meeting at the client company yesterday afternoon, Miss Sheng came twice today and asked to see you. However, I did not manage to contact you then, and I did not have time to tell you after work." Ling Han looked up at her. "Tell the front desk that no one is allowed to enter without a key card to the headquarters in the future." Xiaodong was slightly taken aback. Then she nodded. "I understand." No matter what the rumors outside were, she had personally witnessed the case in court. In that case, the boss did not go to court for Sheng Anren at all. He went to court for Yi Huanyan. Xiaomu had just finished her work and came back. The two met at the door. "Assistant Xiao, I have something to ask you." Seeing Xiaodong's hesitant appearance, Xiaomu hesitated for a moment before nodding. I'll come find you after I report to President Ling." Xiaomu took out a bag of photos from a brown envelope and handed it to Ling Han. "Director Wang asked someone to deliver this to me. He asked me if I should hurry and bring her out." In the photo was a thin figure. There was an obvious palm print on her face, which was extremely red and swollen. The prison uniform on her was too big, making her look like a sack. It was as if a gust of wind could blow her away. Ling Han's gaze tensed as he coldly said, "Is there no one in charge of the prison? Didn't you say that everything was taken care of?" Xiaomu sighed with a troubled expression. "I've asked around. Lanjiang City Prison has a new batch of prison guards rotating shifts. The prison we asked someone to arrange for is full, and only this prison number 4 is left. The people inside all have complicated backgrounds. Even the prison guards turn a blind eye to it." The office was silent for a few seconds before Ling Han's cold voice slowly rang out. "Tell Director Wang that I want to bring her back in 3 days." Before Xiaomu could reply, there was a commotion at the door. "You can't go in." Accompanied by a series of exclamations, a tall and straight man barged into the office. Xiaodong was behind the man, and he nervously chased to the door. At this moment, he looked at Ling Han cautiously with a flustered expression. "Director Ling, I'm sorry. I haven't told the receptionist." "Ling Han, I have something to talk to you about." Su Nianhua interrupted Xiaodong. Ling Han frowned as he stared at him in displeasure. "What are you doing here?" Su Nianhua's expression was very gloomy. "I'm here to terminate the contract with you." Xiaodong was still standing at the door. Xiaomu glanced at Ling Han's expression and quickly pulled Xiaodong out of the office, closing the door behind them. Only Su Nianhua and Ling Han were left in the office. "Terminate the contract?" Ling Han sneered. "It's not a rational decision for you to terminate the contract now." Su Nianhua gritted his teeth and tried to suppress the unwillingness in his heart. "As long as you can think of a way to get Yin Yin out of prison, I'll terminate the contract. The penalty for breach of contract won't be based on the contract. You can decide how much you want." Upon hearing this, Ling Han stared at him for a long time without saying anything. "Give me a number." Su Nianhua took a deep breath. If it weren't for the fact that his last option was also cut off, he definitely wouldn't lower himself to beg Ling Han. "It seems that you're really infatuated with Yi Huanyan." Ling Han coldly spat out this sentence with a dark expression. "But what makes you think that I'll terminate the contract with you? And what makes you think that terminating the contract with you can be used as a condition for you to manipulate me?" Su Nianhua's expression froze. "You don't want to terminate the contract with me? You can bring benefits to pleasure. So why should I terminate the contract with you?" Ling Han lowered his head and sneered. "Do you think that everyone is like you, willing to give up everything for a woman? Don't tell me that you can tolerate working with your love rival." Su Nianhua raised his voice and stared at Ling Han in disbelief. When he heard the words love rival, Ling Han raised his eyes and swept a glance at him, and there was a layer of coldness in his eyes. Work with you? You're just a mere artist who makes money for me. Besides, I don't think you can be my love rival. That woman is mine from head to toe. Even if she dies, she'll be buried in my Ling family's ancestral grave. Chapter 197. Su Nianhua, you think too highly of yourself. Ling Han's voice was not loud, but each sentence was colder than the last. Su Nianhua clenched his fists and looked at Ling Han angrily. Well, if you don't want to help, I have a way. At most, I'll wait for her for a year. After a year, even if I'm banned, even if I have to leave the entertainment industry, I'll take her away. A person like you has no right to stay by Yin Yan's side. Ling Han frowned. Do you think she'll go with you? Why won't she go with me? Su Nianhua's eyes were like torches. Even if she doesn't love me, does she want to stay by a bastard like you and be humiliated? In this world, no matter where she wants to go, I can put down everything and go with her. Can you do that? You can't do it either. Ling Han suddenly stood up, walked around the big desk, and walked in front of Su Nianhua. At this moment, it was as if a string in his brain had snapped, causing his facial features to distort uncontrollably. His well-defined hands tightly gripped Su Nianhua's collar. The veins on the back of his hands protruded as he said sternly, "She will never go with you. I won't allow it." Su Nianhua's eyes were gloomy. He raised his hand to push him away, but he took a hard punch. His mouth was full of the smell of blood. Blood flowed down the corner of his mouth and fell on his white shirt, staining it red. When it came to fighting, Su Nianhua had never taken this class in his education since he was young. The punch landed squarely on him. But he was not a spoiled child. After so many years of working in foreign bars, he couldn't count the number of times he had met with trouble. He had to know something to survive. He wiped the corner of his mouth and threw an even more ruthless punch. Ling Han didn't expect him to fight back, so he couldn't dodge in time. The fist brushed past his cheek and hit his eye socket. His left eye was immediately bruised. In the end, it was Qiao Mu who heard the commotion. When she pushed open the door, she saw two men who were nearly 1.9 meters tall fighting each other with their fists and feet. They were both covered in wounds. Qiao Mu protected Ling Han. Xiao Dong held on tightly to Su Nianhua, and his face was full of fear. Remember, I'm a man of my word. When she comes out, I'll take her away. Su Nianhua wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and turned around angrily. Qiao Mu cautiously examined the wound on Ling Han's face. President Ling, I'm going to call Dr. Peter over. Ling Han clenched his fists, his expression cold. You don't have to do what I just told you. Let her stay in there for 2 months. Qiao Mu was slightly taken aback, and she sighed inwardly. After coming out of Ling Han's office, Xiao Dong stopped Qiao Mu. Assistant Xiao, you haven't told me what I just asked you. When can Secretary Yi come out? Qiao Mu frowned. Su Nianhua has completely infuriated President Ling. If Secretary Yi wants to come out, she has to at least wait until President Ling calms down. Xiao Dong's face darkened. He was about to open his mouth, but he didn't know whether to complain about Ling Han or Su Nianhua. In the end, he could only stomp his feet and angrily return to his office. Why did he have to do all this? Lanjiang City Women's Prison. After the 7 people in prison number 4 finished their breakfast, they were all arranged to lay out the lawn in an empty field behind the prison. The lawn was very wide, about half the size of a golf course, and there was no end in sight. Sometimes, it was used for large-scale activities in the prison. The 5-meter-tall walls were surrounded by electrified barbed wire, and there were people patrolling back and forth. Piece by piece, the turf was brought down from the cart, and then pieced together and laid out on the grass. Xiao Wu squatted down and worked while teasing the new person's name. Xiao Yi, Auntie, you're taking too much advantage of her. Call her something else. Xiao Yi lowered her head timidly. Then what do you think I should be called? How old are you? 19. Younger than me? I'll just call you younger sister from now on. If you go out in the future, hang out with older sister. Older sister was sent here because she was plotted against behind her back. Older sister's skills. Yi Huanyan didn't listen to any more words. And they didn't continue because she and Xiao Yi were reassigned by the prison guards to the work group of moving turf. After moving batches of turf from the truck back and forth twice, Yi Huanyan's hands and feet were numb from holding them. She bent over to rest for a while, and when she lowered her head, she caught a glimpse of a cold light from the corner of her eye. She was stunned. 2 meters behind her, Xiao Yi took out a pair of small scissors that were smaller than a palm from under the truck, and secretly stuffed them into her sleeve. After stuffing them, she looked around. Yi Huanyan quickly straightened her back and moved the turf toward the other 5 people in prison number 4. What were the scissors used for? Where did she get them? Judging from her gesture just now, she seemed to have taken them out from under the truck near the tire. She most likely brought them in by sticking them to the bottom of the truck's cargo box. Who would stick a pair of scissors under the truck's cargo box for no reason? Prison break. Yi Huanyan frowned. She didn't think of how to break out of prison with a pair of scissors. After lunch, they worked on the lawn for the entire afternoon. Many people complained incessantly, and their enthusiasm for work in the afternoon was not high. Fortunately, there was no need to work overtime in prison. When it was time, they had to go back to their rooms and stay. Xiao Wu, who procrastinated and slacked off, was free after dinner. It took some time to tidy up the lawn. Chapter 198. She had been here for 2 days, but she still didn't know the names of the people in the cell. No one asked, and she always called them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on according to their age. However, she had a rough idea of where they came from when they were playing cards and teasing each other. Second sister was a woman from the north. She had a strong physique and was about 1.7 meters tall. Her skin was dark, and she was sentenced to 1.5 years for organizing prostitution. She did not have a good temper, but she listened to big sister very well. Third sister was a thin woman with yellow hair and a sallow complexion. She was half a head shorter than second sister. She was caught for selling fake goods. Her case was not serious, and she had been locked up for 3 months. She would be released in 2 days. Fourth sister was Fu Yingxiang. She did not play cards and spoke very little. Yi Huanyan did not know why she was in the cell, and it seemed that no one knew either. As for big sister, it was said that she had committed murder. This was said when they were playing cards. That day, Xiao Wu had a cigarette in her mouth. She was in a good mood after winning a card game, and she was a little dazed from smoking. Here, we usually arrange people according to their crimes. Our cell is different. We arrange people according to their age. At this moment, big sister was taken out by the prison guards and had not returned yet. Third sister, who was playing cards with them, had lost 2 packs of cigarettes. She glanced at her gloomily. Big sister has been here the longest. If it wasn't for her serious crimes, why would she still be here? I have been here for more than half a year. Then do you know what crime big sister committed? Can't you ask her yourself? Third sister frowned and was a little impatient. At this moment, the prison guards had just sent big sister back. She took off her shoes and sat on the bed reading a book. The few of them looked at each other. Xiao Wu snuffed out her cigarette and leaned over to big sister, tilting her head and asking, "Big sister, we have been here for so long, but you have been here the longest. We have never asked you why you were here." Big sister looked at her and said, "Attempted murder." From Yi Huanyan's angle, she could clearly see that Xiao Wu's throat moved a few times. She swallowed hard and seemed to be very nervous. No one could tell that such a person was a murderer. If it weren't for that dress, Yi Huanyan felt that she would be a rich lady, a rich young lady, a strong woman. In short, she would definitely be a woman from the upper class, noble, elegant and calm. Little Five forced a smile while trembling in fear. "Really? I've never heard you mention it before." Big sister's expression did not change. "There's nothing to say. That person didn't die, so I'm still here." Did she mean that because that person didn't die, she wasn't sentenced to death? Or that because that person didn't die, She couldn't escape the punishment of the law. No one understood. But when it came to murder, everyone in the prison believed it. After that, little Five became even more respectful to his elder sister. Second brother and third brother, on the other hand, had learned to clean their own beds diligently. This was because eldest sister had once said that she did not like a messy environment. As for Xiao Yi, she was even more diligent in fetching water for her big sister to wash her feet. On the third day after the lawn was mowed, the people in the prison had all regained their energy, especially little Five. When Yi Huanyan came over with the water for washing her feet, she was sitting on the bed and smoking. Yi Huanyan squatted under the bed and looked up at her. "The water for washing your feet is ready." Little Five glanced at her and nodded. Yi Huanyan was about to get up when little Five suddenly raised one of her legs and stepped firmly on Yi Huanyan's thigh. She almost staggered from the step, and her knee hit the ground hard, making a muffled thud. At the same time, a contemptuous voice came from above. "Take off your shoes." Yi Huanyan frowned in pain. Just because she was a few seconds slower in taking off her shoes, she was pulled by her hair and scolded. "What are you doing? Can't you be a little faster?" Fu Xiang couldn't stand it anymore and grabbed little Five's hand. "Little Five, don't be like this. That's enough." The people in the prison had been together for a long time. Second brother and third brother couldn't stand it anymore, and helped to persuade her. When she heard that everyone was helping this woman, who had only been here for less than half a month, little Five got angry and flung Yi Huanyan's hair away. She kicked the water basin over and splashed water all over Yi Huanyan. She fell on the ground, looking very pathetic. "Are you siding with outsiders? Did this woman give you all bewitching pills?" Yi Huanyan bit her lip and didn't say anything. She was already used to the dark life here. Little Five, second brother, third brother, and fourth brother were quarreling with each other. Third brother had a bad temper and was exchanging a few words with little Five. Second brother came forward to mediate, but was accidentally kicked. He was also angry and started to quarrel. On the other side, big sister didn't move. She hugged a book and sat down to wash her feet. Xiaoyi squatted in front of the basin and turned a blind eye to the argument beside her. She held onto the basin and slowly touched the cuff of her other hand. Yi Huanyan wiped the water droplets on her hair. When she raised her head, she saw a cold glint. "Be careful." She didn't know what she was thinking at that time. Maybe she saw a chance to die when she wanted to. Maybe she felt that her life wasn't worth much, and doing a good deed was not bad. When she grabbed Xiao Yi, the scissors were pointed at her arm and ruthlessly cut through the thin layer of cloth, making a large cut. Half of the wound on her arm was flipped open, and blood flowed freely. The basin in front of big sister had been kicked over. When the people heard the noise, they came back to their senses. Fu Xiang, who didn't participate in the war, grabbed big sister first and pulled her to her side, increasing the distance between her and Xiao Yi. The five people stared at the scene in front of them in horror. Xiao Yi, who was originally quiet and attentive, seemed to have gone crazy at this moment. She waved the scissors in her hand randomly. Her eyes were red. As she pushed Yi Huanyan, she waved in big sister's direction. She staggered as if she had gone crazy. "I'll kill you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you." After Yi Huanyan pulled her away, her whole body was covered in blood from the scissors, but she still held on to Xiaoyi tightly and refused to let go. Two prison guards quickly heard the sound and quickly opened the door. Then they pressed down on Xiaoyi and stunned her with their batons. They roared at the crowd. "Don't move, hold your heads." Except for Yi Huanyan, who was lying on the side covered in blood, and Xiaoyi, who had been restrained and couldn't move. All the women in prison number 4 squatted on the bed and held their heads, trembling. Just now, they had personally experienced a life and death game. To be precise, they were watching. No one would have thought that Yi Huanyan would sacrifice herself to save Big Sister. Her actions were too unexpected. Big Sister stared at Yi Huanyan, who was on the ground, as if she had suddenly come back to her senses. She screamed, "Hurry up and save her, hurry up and save her." "What are you shouting for? We know what to do." The prison guard glared at her. "Two people, carry her to the infirmary." "I'll go." Big Sister struggled to get off the bed. You can't do it. Come with us. 1895 is coming for you. The prison guard looked at Big Sister coldly. It was clearly seen in the surveillance video. Number 1895 took the initiative to attack the warden of prison number 4. Chapter 199. When Yi Huanyan woke up, she was lying in the infirmary of the prison. The moment she opened her eyes, she saw a pure white ceiling. She moved, causing a series of pain all over her body. She could not help but groan. She lowered her head slightly and saw the wounds on her body. Her left arm was covered in layers of bandages and a fastener. The rest of the dozen or so wounds on her body were all bandaged, and she had also changed into a new prison uniform. The young female doctor rushed over when she heard the sound. When she saw her open her eyes, she heaved a sigh of relief and asked, "You're awake. Are you feeling unwell? Something like your chest and brain?" Yi Huanyan shook her head blankly. The female doctor smiled. "That's good. If it's an internal injury, we can't treat it here. We have to move to another place. Now it seems that other than the wound on your arm, which is very serious, the rest are minor injuries. When you go back, don't touch the water. Every day, a prison guard will bring you to my place to change your dressing. If they forget, remember to remind them." After the doctor gave a few instructions, someone came to pick her up. She held the fastener on her arm and returned to prison number 4 with the help of 2 prison guards. When the door opened, the eldest sister quickly stood up and personally came over to support her. The prison guard glanced at them. "Don't cause any more trouble. In a place like this, a matter that almost cost someone's life was only a simple sentence. Don't cause any more trouble." The eldest sister and Fu Yingxiang helped Yi Huanyan to sit on the bed. Fu Yingxiang looked at the fastener on her arm and sighed repeatedly. "You're really bold. If that scissors had been a little more slanted, it would have stabbed your chest." The eldest sister sat on the other side of her with a solemn expression. "Why did you save me?" Yi Huanyan was pulling the blanket up. When she heard this, she hesitated for a few seconds before leaning against the pillow and closing her eyes. She said lightly, "I didn't save you." Xiao Wu, who was squatting in the corner, frowned. "Hey? What's with your attitude? Don't think that you're so great just because you saved eldest sister." The eldest sister glared at Xiao Wu, and she immediately lowered her head and squatted back. "You didn't save me. Do you want to die?" She did not respond. "Do you want to die because you were wrongly accused of being a mistress, or because you were bullied here?" When the word bully was mentioned, Xiao Wu lowered her head guiltily. "In life, there's nothing to be upset about. You're not the only one who's been wronged. You were arrested because you lost the case, so you can appeal. However, there are some people who are willing to take the blame for others. They took the blame for nothing and almost lost their lives." Yi Huanyan slowly opened her eyes and stared at her big sister with a complicated expression. Big sister forced a smile. "My husband accidentally killed someone, and I went to jail for him. His woman outside took advantage of this opportunity to take over the magpie's nest and sent someone to kill me. What do you think of my experience compared to yours?" Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. Her voice was hoarse. "The pain of others has nothing to do with my pain. It didn't mean that you could live a happy life only if you thought that there was someone in a worse situation than you. That wasn't the case. Everyone had their own pain. No matter how many examples there were, those were other people's problems." Big sister only snorted coldly. "I just want to tell you that you're seeking death here. In the outside world, the person you're thinking about is with someone else. Don't you feel aggrieved to die in such a place? Looking at you, you must have been pampered and raised by your parents." Speaking of parents, big sister frowned. There seemed to be shame in her eyes. "My parents raised me for more than 20 years and never touched a single finger on me. For that man, I ruined their face in family business. What about you? Where are your parents?" After a while, Yi Huanyan's eyes reddened. She choked and said, "My parents passed away. I'll never see them again." Later on, she couldn't remember how she cried until she lost consciousness in the arms of her big sister. She cried until she fainted, until her voice became hoarse and unpleasant to the ear. Every time she made a sound, It would be painful. Late at night, Yi Huanyan finally fell asleep on Big Sister's bed. Fu Yingxiang sighed at the side and covered her with a blanket. She looked up at Big Sister and seemed to be deep in thought. Big Sister, is what you said just now true? You didn't kill anyone. Did you take the blame for your husband and go to jail? The one who spoke was Xiao Wu. She lay on the pillow and rolled her eyes. Big Sister glanced at her. Why? Do you think you can be Big Sister just because I didn't kill anyone? Xiao Wu shook her head like a rattledrum. No, you're still Big Sister. After saying that, she muttered, just based on your value, I can't afford to offend you even if there were 100 of you. These words fell into Big Sister's ears again. She had heard such words many times before, but she had always ignored them. Today, for some reason, she looked in Yi Huanyan's direction thoughtfully. In the end, her eyes fell on Fu Yingxiang and she said faintly, don't worry. My value isn't the highest here. Don't joke, you're not the highest? Xiao Wu blinked and turned to look at Yi Huanyan. Can number one's value be higher than yours? Isn't she just a white-collar worker? Big Sister retracted her gaze and gave Xiao Wu a warning look. Don't make things difficult for her in the future. Apologize to her tomorrow. She's older than you, so call her Big Sister in the future. Xiao Wu was stunned. She thought of what happened today and felt a chill in her heart. She nodded and crawled under the blanket. If she met such a reckless woman, who knew if she would kill her one day? It was better not to provoke her. Not long after Xiao Wu fell asleep, she started snoring. As for Lao Er and Lao San, they were scared out of their wits in the evening and didn't have as much energy as Xiao Wu. They fell asleep before Yi Huanyan. Everyone was asleep, leaving only Fu Yingxiang and Big Sister. Besides Lao San, who do you think will be the first to go out? Fu Yingxiang was slightly taken aback. She turned to look at Big Sister and said bitterly, I don't know who will be the first to go out, but I will definitely be the last to go out. Is that so? Your family can bear for you to suffer here? Hearing this, Fu Yingxiang's eyes showed some vigilance, but she pretended to be relaxed and smiled. Big Sister, you must be joking. I don't have a background like you and Yen Yen. It won't be that easy to reduce my sentence. Big Sister looked at her faintly with a cold gaze. Lao San's sentence is up, but she has been locked up for too long. She doesn't have any background outside, so she won't be able to help. The first to go out is probably Yen Yen. I don't understand what you're saying. It's best that you don't understand. I just want to remind you that I didn't want to get involved in your matters. But the situation is different now. Yi Huanyan saved me, so she will be my sister until she dies. Before you ask her to do anything, you should consider whether you can offend some people. I don't want her to take unnecessary risks. Fu Yingxiang chuckled, her expression calm. Big Sister, you read too many novels. What do you mean by taking risks? I'm going to sleep first. You should sleep early too. She turned around and faced Yi Huanyan. Her smile gradually froze on her face. Chapter 200. The next morning, Yi Huanyan was the first to wake up as usual. Just as she got up, she heard Little Five mumble to Fu Yingxiang. Get me a basin of water to wash my face first. Yi Huanyan was about to get off the bed, but Fu Yingxiang pulled her back. You haven't recovered yet. Her voice was neither loud nor soft, but it woke Big Sister up. Big Sister sat up slowly. I'll get you some water. This time Little Five woke up with a start. She looked like she had been struck by lightning. She probably remembered Big Sister's warning before going to bed last night. How can I let Big Sister do it? I'll go. Little Five, who was usually the harshest towards Yi Huanyan, changed her attitude. She respectfully fetched water and even wrung out a hot towel. If not for Yi Huanyan being afraid that she would accidentally burn herself, Little Five would have wiped her face personally. This change in attitude was too fast. While Yi Huanyan was washing her face, Big Sister coughed and attracted everyone's attention. Everyone saw what happened yesterday. Yen Yen is my benefactor, so from today onwards she is my younger sister. You should treat her the same way you treat me. Little Five, switch places with Yen Yen tonight. Everyone was stunned. Little Five was the first to react. She looked troubled. Big sister, my nose is allergic. I can't smell anything too strong. Then I'll switch places with Yin Yin? Big sister stared at Little Five with a sullen expression. Little Five was clearly scared by her gaze. She shook her head like a rattledrum. No need, I'm fine sleeping here. After staying here for a few days, Yi Huanyan knew that in this place, using force to suppress was the best method. However, using the carrot and stick was the key to protecting oneself. Her identity was not as complicated as Big Sister's, so it was hard to guarantee that Little Five would not try to curry favor in front of others and backstab them. Little Five looked at Big Sister bitterly. Just as Big Sister was about to say something, Yi Huanyan explained. I'm close to the bathroom, so it's convenient for me to wake up at night. I'm used to sleeping here. Thank you for your kindness. Fu Yingxiang also tried to persuade him. It's not a bad idea for Yin Yin to sleep here. Her left arm is leaning against the wall, so none of us can touch it. If we move to a different position, it's inevitable that we'll bump into each other while sleeping. It won't be good if we get hurt. Only then did Big Sister stop insisting. Xiaowu also glanced at Yi Huanyan with a hint of gratitude in his eyes. During the meal, Yi Huanyan found out that her elder sister's real name was Zhuang Suqiu. Yi Huanyan was injured, so it was difficult for her to move around. They were the ones who bought the food and brought it back. She looked at the 3 meat dishes in the porcelain bowl, and then looked at Xiaowu, who was crouching at the side, drooling with envy. She generously picked up a big meatball and handed it to Xiaowu. I can't eat oily food. Do you want some? Little Five nodded like he was pounding garlic. Everyone in this room had to eat a certain amount of food. Xiaowu looked like she was not yet 17 or 18 years old. She was still growing, so it was normal for her to be envious of the food. She pinched a big meatball between her left and right index fingers and thumb, and ate with a mouth full of oil. Second sister was the most forthright. She laughed out loud. Xiaowu was like a beggar. Everyone in the room laughed after she said that. Even Zhuang Suqiu smiled helplessly. Yi Huanyan lowered her head to eat. Zhuang Suqiu glanced at her with concern in her eyes. Yin Yin, don't call me big sister in the future. It sounds very old. Just call me Sister Qiu. You saved me. When I get out in the future, no matter what difficulties you have, I'll do my best to help you. Yi Huanyan pursed her lips and swallowed the food in her mouth. I didn't think too much at that time. You don't have to take it to heart. Are you saying that I'm not qualified to be your sister because of my identity as a murderer? Big Sister frowned a little unhappy. Yi Huanyan shook her head and smiled bitterly. That's not what I meant. Who is more guilty than who here? After saying that, she pondered for a while. We all live in the same place. There's no need to get along well with each other. If you want to acknowledge each other as sisters, why don't we all acknowledge each other as sisters? What do you think? As soon as she said that, Little Five, who was squatting on the ground, was the first to raise her hand. I agree. Second sister and third sister naturally had no objections. Third sister scratched the blonde hair on her head in embarrassment and said with a smile, I'm about to leave. It's not a loss to acknowledge a few sisters. They can go out and take care of my business in the future. Of course I agree. Second sister, on the other hand, spat at her rather straightforwardly. So you're keeping the sisters to buy your unsellable fake goods? I don't dare to acknowledge you as a sister. It'll be bad if you catch your own family. Third sister hurriedly waved her hand, looking aggrieved. If you buy my goods, I'll definitely give you the real deal at cost price. The quality is the same as the counter, and it's half cheaper. That's still charging money. If you ask me, if you acknowledge sisters, you can all come to my place to play. I'll introduce all kinds of friends to you sisters. Before second sister could finish speaking, she realized that everyone in the cell was silent and staring at her in shock. She was stunned for a few seconds, then slapped her thigh as if she had been insulted. What are you thinking? Would I cheat you? I won't sell you. I don't have anything fun at my place. I don't just rely on selling sex. Moreover, I'm planning to change my profession this time. I'll do something more elegant and open a proper bar in the future. Wasn't everyone afraid that they would be sold if they weren't careful? Before they could heave a sigh of relief, Second sister touched her chin and said, "After all, brothels now like to be more elegant. We have to follow the market closely." Everyone's faces stiffened. It was really easy to change a leopard's spots. In the end, it was Fu Yingxiang who burst out laughing and dispelled the awkwardness. "If you ask me, there's no need to talk about taking care of each other. It's fate to be able to meet here. Let's just become sworn sisters. In the future, if you have any difficulties when you go out, help if you can. If you can't, at least give some encouragement. That's pretty good." Her smile was like a spring breeze. Zhuang Suqiu, who was very opinionated, also nodded thoughtfully. Second sister said, "Fourth sister, with your looks you'll definitely be the best at my place." Everyone's faces stiffened again. Second sister smiled awkwardly and quickly waved her hand. "I'm just joking. Didn't we say we were going to acknowledge each other as sisters? Should we prepare some props? Dripping blood or kowtowing?" Yi Huanyan also frowned. She had never participated in a swearing ceremony with such a strong atmosphere. She felt like her life had suddenly changed from a heart-wrenching drama to a martial arts drama. It was Zhuang Suqiu who coughed lightly and said slowly, "There's no need for that. It's fine as long as we know each other's background. Introduce yourselves, where you're from, and what you've done. Tell us your real names." She deliberately emphasized the last 4 words. When she said this, everyone seemed to have some reservations. After all, other than her and Yi Huanyan, everyone here really had a criminal record. There was no need for that. In the end, it was Yi Huanyan who mediated the situation. "It's not an interrogation. We're all sisters, and we're just casually chatting. Besides, we're already here, so what's there to hide? As for any privacy issues, weigh it yourself. You don't have to say it, but what you say has to be true, okay?" Chapter 201. The remaining 4 people looked at each other. In the end, Xiaowu swallowed the meatball in her mouth and raised her oily hand. "Then, I'll go first. My name is Chen Yin. I'm the last in the family, so everyone calls me youngest sister. You can continue to call me Xiaowu. My family runs a martial arts center." She paused for a moment as if she was in a dilemma. Everyone was stunned when they heard the words, martial arts center. Her family owned a martial arts center. So how could they teach a little girl to steal and steal? Third sister was the first to react. She asked hesitantly, "Chen? Your surname is Chen? Your family runs a martial arts center? What's the name of your martial arts center?" Third sister sold fake goods in the underworld. She knew a lot about the underworld, so she was more sensitive to such things. In fact, she was right to be sensitive. Xiaowu pursed her lips and said reluctantly, "Elite Martial Hall." Everyone was shocked. Second sister was the first to laugh. "Xiaowu, can you not brag too much? I can even say that I'm Chen Zhen's granddaughter." "Then you're my aunt." Xiaowu looked serious and seemed a little angry as she muttered, "I knew that you wouldn't believe me even if I said it." Yi Huanyan remembered that when she was being beaten, her moves were indeed different from other girls. Other than pulling hair, she had other moves. If she wasn't busy arguing with Fu Yingxiang and the rest that day, she would have been the one to save Zhuang Suqiu. Thinking of this, Yi Huanyan said seriously, "Go on, I believe you." Everyone looked at Yi Huanyan and was a little surprised. Xiaowu was stunned and then curled her lips. "What's there to say? The elite martial hall isn't that great. Anyway, I'm the one who's looked down on the most in the family. I wasn't good at martial arts since I was young, but they insisted that I learn it. In the end, I couldn't take it anymore and ran out of the family. I've been on my own, but I'm still alive now." The profound martial hall was nothing special, but in the international wushu competition and the national wushu competition, at least 6 of the top 10 were selected by the Jingwu Hall. The gold, silver, and bronze medals were always taken by the Jingwu Hall. In the eyes of foreigners, the Jingwu Hall's wushu was probably equivalent to China's table tennis. There were countless branches of the elite martial hall all over the country. He just didn't know which branch Xiaowu's family had opened. Third sister was the most excited. She asked, "Who is Chun-Li to you? Do you know him?" Chun-Li was the champion of the previous national martial arts competition and was ranked in the top 10 in the world. Oh, my second brother. The three words fluttered in the wind made the third sister jump up from the bed excitedly. What did you say? You are the younger sister of Chun-Li, the head of the elite force hall in Bianzhou. When it was Zhuang Suqiu's turn, she was stunned. About my matter, when we talked about it last night, everyone was there, so there is no need to say. In the future, if the girls have any difficulties, they can look for me. I can help a little, big or small. The few of them nodded. Only Gu Fengfeng carefully asked a question. Big sister, that when I bought the fake clothes, I heard that the most famous clothing factory in our area is the property of Zhuangyu Group. Didn't you say yesterday that your family makes clothes? Do you have any contact with this factory? Can you do me a favor? I'm going out in 2 days. I don't have the money to start a business, so I want to. Hearing this, Zhuang Suqiu frowned and thought for a while. Are you talking about the factory in the western suburbs of Lanjiang City? Gu Fengfeng nodded. You have connections, right? I remember when I came in, I heard that the quality of the clothes in the factory was not up to standard, and they were going to close down. When you came in, they didn't close down. They closed down, but those clothes that are not up to standard, can they be sold to me at a cheaper price? Anyway, they can't be shipped to the counter, right? It's not a problem, but when you sell them, you will probably have to remove the tags and change them. They can't use the name of Zhuangyu Group. Okay, no problem. That big sister, how many clothes can you give me? I don't have money now. I have to get my first bucket of gold before I can give them money. I'll give them all to you. When these 4 words came out, Gu Fengfeng was stunned and couldn't speak clearly. All to me. Big sister, you're not joking, right? You have so much influence. Zhuang Suqiu smiled faintly. Zhuangyu is my grandfather's name. The current president of the company is my mother. Chapter 202. Those who did not do business might not know about the Zhuangyu Group, but they would definitely have worn the clothes sold by the Zhuangyu Group when they were young. It was the oldest domestic clothing brand, and now it was involved in various industries. It was just that the current CEO of the Zhuangyu Group kept a low profile, so she rarely showed her face in public. Everyone in the circle knew that the founder of the Zhuangyu Group, Zhuangyu, only had 3 daughters. Back then, it was the eldest daughter who found a son-in-law who married into the family. However, the eldest daughter's belly was disappointing. After so many years, she only gave birth to 1 daughter, Zhuang Suqiu. The Zhuang family wanted Zhuang Suqiu to find a son-in-law who married into the family, and she did do so. However, the man she found was no longer under the control of the Zhuang family. That man went from being unknown 10 years ago to using the Zhuang family's capital to establish a media company that gathered many popular celebrities. It was Phoenix Media, which was comparable to Pleasure Media. Now he had opened up countless industries through Phoenix Media. Although it was not an industrial chain, it was faintly suppressing the Zhuangyu Group. The Zhuang family was a legitimate wealthy family. As for Zhuang Suqiu, she indeed had the noble aura of a wealthy family. Her dignified magnanimity, and the various kinds of character that she could still maintain in this kind of place, were incomparable to ordinary people. Among them, the one who was the most secretly shocked was probably Yi Huanyan. Fu Yingxiang did not know, but the other 4 did not seem to feel the concept of a group. They only felt that it was a big company. Previously, they already knew that Zhuang Suqiu was not an ordinary person, so they were not too surprised. Yi Huanyan was the only one who knew the status of the Zhuangyu Group in the business world. She admired the current CEO of the group very much. She could not help but praise. Sister Qiu, I admire Auntie's ability to manage such a big group all these years. Zhuang Suqiu's smile was a little dim, but she still insisted. When we get out of here, I will bring you to meet her. She will like you very much. When it was Fu Yingxiang's turn, everyone looked at her. She pursed her lips and lowered her gaze a little. My background is not as strange as yours. I am just an ordinary person working in a beauty salon. I was caught because I stole a customer's diamond necklace. When she said this, everyone except Zhuang Suqiu was stunned. Fu Yingxiang's appearance was absolutely beautiful. Compared to the current A-list actresses, she had a more refreshing and refined aura. She was like the daughter of a beautiful brothel that lived under the misty rain in Jiangnan. She didn't look like someone who would steal. Su Hong was a straightforward person and asked on the spot, "Stop fooling around. How do you look like a thief?" As soon as she said that, Little Five immediately became unhappy. He glared at Su Hong angrily. "Second sister, I don't agree with what you just said. When I said that I stole in, you didn't say that. Do I look like one?" Hearing this, the crowd burst into laughter. Xiaowu didn't have the proper posture to sit or stand properly. Her pair of clear eyes kept darting around. Even if she was curious, she shouldn't be so curious. She really looked like a thief who knew how to steal, and a beautiful female thief at that. However, what she said was also true. You couldn't judge whether someone would steal based on their appearance. Fu Yingxiang also spread her hands. "To be honest, I really didn't know that it was so expensive at that time. I just thought that it looked good, so I took it. Moreover, I was preparing to resign that day. No one knew that I wanted to take it away on the last day. It was my first time stealing." The crowd reluctantly believed this explanation. However, Yi Huanyan was a little puzzled. Would someone really steal something just because it looked good? Moreover, it was such a beautiful woman like Fu Yingxiang. However, now that it was her turn, she couldn't care less about it. She didn't even notice that Zhuang Suqiu was looking at Fu Yingxiang with a hint of sarcasm. "You should have heard about what happened to me, right?" Yi Huanyan said softly, and looked at Little Five unnaturally. Xiaowu shrugged. "Don't look at me like that. I only heard about it from the prison guards when they were eating. I just knew that you were a homewrecker, and that you deliberately hurt people. I didn't hear the details clearly." After saying that, she smiled sheepishly and said, "Well, Sister Yin Yin, don't blame me for being impulsive. My mother was bullied by a mistress, so I couldn't help but feel a little annoyed by what I said. If you are angry, hit me a few times. I won't fight back." She didn't go easy on Yi Huanyan previously. These words were sincere, but it was a little awkward to say them now. Fu Yingxiang teased from the side. "Little Five, you really know how to pick the right time. Yin Yan's arm is already broken. If you let her hit you now, won't that be taking advantage of you? When the time comes, you won't even have a single strand of hair on your head. But her arm will be broken, right?" Everyone laughed. Little Five touched her hair embarrassedly and said, "Then can you wait until your injury is healed before you hit me?" When Fu Yingxiang spoke, Yi Huanyan remembered that after this, when many contradictions and awkwardness were triggered, she was the one who easily resolved them by gently opening her mouth. How could a woman like Fu Yingxiang, who had a heart of 7 orifices, steal? She still couldn't figure it out. Fortunately, after everyone laughed, she still had to continue talking about her own affairs. The story was a little long. She had only told it to Ji Xiaoya before. Now that there were so many listeners, and in such an environment, she could speak freely without any scruples. She didn't care about other people's opinions. When she talked about Ling Han's indifferent and cruel behavior towards her, everyone's faces were sullen. When she talked about this historical problem left behind by her parents, everyone's faces were solemn. When she talked about Sheng Inran's repeated backstabbing, Little Five took the lead to stand up with her fists clenched and said angrily, "This Sheng Inran, I thought she was a good person. She played the delicate and pitiful heroine on TV all day long. It turned out that she was a complete white lotus, a green tea bitch. Your brother is too blind." Little Five, don't interrupt. Yin Yin hasn't finished yet. Fu Yingxiang reminded her. Little Five squatted down angrily again, and didn't forget to scold her. None of the men are good. Thinking that her mother was also promoted by a mistress, and connecting it to her own rebellious character, everyone felt some pity and sadness in their hearts. Later, she was injured. "I didn't do it, but I did lose the case. All the evidence pointed to me. She was loved by the people." Yi Huanyan looked sad, and her face was a little pale. She seemed to think of the scene in the court on the day of the final trial. Her heart was still trembling, and she couldn't get rid of it. Everyone was silent. Zhuang Suqiu sighed. and was afraid to pat the back of her hand. In fact, it's better to experience it earlier. It's better than to be at my age. It's hard to get rid of it. You're still young. Zhuang Suqiu was only in her early 30s. In addition, she took good care of herself. Her skin was the best among all of them. It was nothing more than because of her temperament, which made people feel that she was old. Yi Huanyan sighed secretly and looked up with a smile. Sister Qiu, you don't look old at all. You're still young. Chapter 203. Prison number 4 could be said to be the most harmonious prison in all of Lanjiang City's women's prisons. Although there were all kinds of people, there were still many hidden talents. At noon, Yi Huanyan was brought to the infirmary to change her dressing. Xiao Wu accompanied her. Gu Fengfeng was brought to the prison by the prison guards to do a background check before she was released from prison. Su Hong was visited by someone. Only Zhuang Suqiu and Fu Yingxiang were left in the cell. When Su Hong left, Zhuang Suqiu was sitting on the bed reading a book. Her short hair was sticking to the wall, and she looked serious. However, Zhuang Suqiu's natural graceful temperament made her not have the slightest bit of scholarly aura. At this moment, the book in her hand that had not changed for thousands of years was even more meaningful. If one were to talk about scholarly aura, Fu Yingxiang had it. Although she never read books, from her name to her appearance, she had this kind of aura. Just by casually giving her a book, she looked like she came from a scholarly family. People would believe it if she said that she was the youngest female professor who had returned from abroad. At this moment, Fu Yingxiang had just finished washing her hair and came out of the bathroom. She sat on a small stool and used a towel to dry her hair. She had the beauty of a lotus flower emerging from the water. Did you sell the diamond necklace that you stole? A neither soft nor heavy voice sounded from the cell. It was as if she did not take it to heart and asked casually. Fu Yingxiang was stunned. When she looked up, she saw that Zhuang Suqiu was still reading, as if she was not the one who asked this question. However, there were only the two of them in the cell. If it was not her, who else could it be? She smiled. I sold it. If I didn't sell it, the sentence would not be so heavy. Fu Yingxiang was sentenced to 3 years. According to the criminal law's provisions for theft, if the theft was serious and the amount was more than 20,000 yuan, the sentence would be up to 3 years in prison. How much did you sell it for? Another casual question asked. 22,000 yuan. Fu Yingxiang smiled faintly again. The actual value should be about 10 times that. I only found out after going to court. However, since it was something that I privately pawned in the pawn shop, I could not get it back. Moreover, it was said to be a token of love. There was no way to forgive me, so the sentence was the highest. It sounded like there was no loophole at all. However, Zhuang Suqiu's eyes flashed with a thought-provoking look. She looked up at her and said, Didn't you say that you only thought it was a small toy and stole it because you liked it? Since he thought it was just a small toy, why would he send it to the pawn shop? Furthermore, she didn't have any proof of purchase or proof of the jewelry. How could she have the guts to send it to a pawn shop? A trace of panic appeared in Fu Yingxiang's eyes, but in just a moment, she found a way to deal with it. I was short of money. I only thought that I could use it as a few hundred yuan. I didn't think of anything else. After she said this, as if to prove that she was not guilty, she deliberately raised her head and looked in the direction of Zhuang Suqiu. Her eyes were slightly stunned. At this moment, Zhuang Suqiu lowered her head and stared seriously at the book in her hand. She even turned a page slowly. She looked like she didn't care about what she was saying at all. However, in the next second, Fu Yingxiang saw her speak calmly, as if she was talking to the book. I'm not interested to know what crime you committed to get in here. I'm not even interested to know why you deliberately didn't let the prison guards reduce your sentence. However, if I want to know, it's not that difficult. These words made Fu Yingxiang's face stiffen. She didn't refute Zhuang Suqiu's words like she did the night before. She didn't play dumb either. Instead, she kept silent. This was because she now knew that Zhuang Suqiu did have the ability to do so. When Yi Huanyan leaves, don't ask her to do anything for you. She doesn't need to get involved in your mess. Although she couldn't contact the outside world anytime and anywhere in Lonjiang City's women's prison, and some people's identities weren't easy to find out, there were many coincidences that made her have to treat them with caution. For example, Fu Yingxiang would show goodwill to every new woman who came in. For example, the women she showed goodwill to would always leave very quickly. For example, after those women left, they would all disappear for no reason. After all, Zhuang Suqiu was the daughter of the Zhuangyu group. Although the fact that she was in prison for her husband made her parents unhappy, they only had one daughter. Her safety was more important than anything else. Therefore, no matter how big or small, there would always be someone who would tell her something once in a while. Of course, she was the one who took the initiative to investigate these things. The reason was that she felt that a woman who was as beautiful as Fu Yingxiang wouldn't easily show goodwill to other women. Once this kind of behavior appeared, there would definitely be some mysterious factor. Staying in prison was a bit boring, but she also knew that she had to know the ins and outs of the people around her to ensure her absolute safety. This was especially so when the first batch of people who came to her family told her that they couldn't find out Fu Yingxiang's background. She took it to heart. A woman who even the Zhuangyu group couldn't find out about was actually obediently staying in prison like her. Fu Yingxiang stared at Zhuang Suqiu for a while. As if she had made up her mind, she said in a deep voice, "Other than her, no one can help me. You overestimate her. She's just a secretary of the pleasure group's CEO. She doesn't have much of a background. Since she's here, it means that the man doesn't care much about her. She can't help you." Zhuang Suqiu flipped to another page and said in a low voice, "Keep your thoughts to yourself. After she gets out, no matter who you ask for help, I won't care." However, it wasn't easy to find another woman with such a strong background who would still be in prison. Fu Yingxiang gritted her teeth. "What if I promise that nothing will happen to her? What promise do you have?" Zhuang Suqiu raised her head and stared at her with a pair of sharp eyes. It was as if she could see through her heart. The temperature in the prison immediately dropped by a few degrees. The silent atmosphere seemed to be able to stop time. After a while, Fu Yingxiang's eyes were firm as she slowly opened her mouth. "Is the identity of the Wang's daughter enough?" A series of orderly footsteps sounded at the door. After Gu Fengfeng and Su Hong reported their numbers to the prison guards at the door, they returned to the prison one after another. Zhuang Suqiu was still reading a book when they left. Fu Yingxiang was drying her hair. They didn't notice anything strange. As soon as they entered the prison, Su Hong's hearty voice broke the silence in the room. "One of my sisters brought me 2 kilograms of cherries. It wasn't easy to get them in here. They were too strict. They checked me one by one. I'll have plenty to eat later." Yi Huanyan had just returned. Su Hong forced her to stuff a cherry into her mouth. After she chewed twice, Gu Fengfeng suddenly held up the plastic bag of cherries and asked, "Second sister, after they checked the cherries one by one, did you wash them?" Su Hong was stunned at first. Then she looked at Yi Huanyan apologetically. Yi Huanyan's face stiffened. Why did she suddenly feel a little salty in her mouth? You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.